just remember like it was yesterday. I used to sit on my bed crying, like, damn, I'm not going to school. Like, nobody want me. Like, this is crazy. Like, after all I done did, and after, I've shown that I could be a good kid, because I seen other dudes who I knew I was better than get scholarships. And I'm like, man, but then I had to just get out of that mindset, because at the end of the day, that's their journey, and they did whatever, they did, because that's their journey and that's how they're going to live their life. You should be happy for them. One, because they're from the same area as you. And two, because they're going to school and getting paid for. So why are you hating? So then I just had to get out of that mindset and just worry about myself and worry about how I can change my situation, rather than worry about what other people are doing. So then, yeah, once I got out of that mindset and then just accepted the fact that I had to go to Central Washington and just go crazy, then that's what I did.
What's going on today? I am the host, SchuZ, and joining me today is two-time All West Coast Conference selection, 2022 West Coast Conference Tournament Team selection, one-time Great Northwest Athletic Conference Freshman of the Year, the 25th all-time leading scorer in Don's history, as well as their third all-time leader in three-point field goals made, fourth in steals, and third in plus-minus, Khalil Shabazz. Khalil, appreciate taking time to come on today, man.
What's up, bro? Thanks for having me, bro.
Absolutely. Well, for starters, you have your decision made now. You know that you're going to be staying home for one more year at least. So take us to that. What does it feel like to know that you have your decision made and you know what you're going to be doing the next year now?
Man, it's definitely a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Going through the whole process, or even before I entered the portal, I entered the draft. So I wasn't sure if I was coming back next year, but just, having a whole bunch of phone calls you have to deal with, a whole bunch of Zoom meetings, just different things like that. And, listening to coaches and their little spills that they have to try to get you to come to their schools and things like that. It can definitely be stressful and definitely be like a lot of just pressure for the most part. But knowing that I'm coming back home and I know I'm stepping into a great situation is definitely a good feeling.
Now, I know you don't have it as of right now, but in the video, you obviously had the heart design obviously in your hair. So take us out a little bit. Is that something we're going to see more coming up this next year, or is that just a one-time thing for the video?
Oh man, that video was taken last year. At the beginning of the year, I had, Drake had the Certified Lover Boy album coming out, and I seen him do it like a little bit before he dropped the album, and I thought it was fire. So I just got it. A lot of people liked it too. So I had it during our media day, and then that was the little clip that you guys seen during the video. I had it for a few games throughout the year, and then I kind of just went back to my regular little part that I usually have.
Well, we're going to get into your career, your decision, all that stuff to end this up. But I do want people to get to know your story, because a lot of people obviously know you today. You already are an all-conference player, but now heading to this year, a lot more people are going to learn your name, as you're most likely going to be the guy. It's your team officially now. So I want people to get to know how you've become this type of player that you are today. So if we head back, you've grown up all the way out there in Washington, Seattle, to be specific. What was it like growing up out there?
Man, it was lovely. My specific living situation wasn't the best, not really having a father in my life growing up, and it just being me, my brother, and my mom and my grandma, my auntie. So yeah, I grew up a lot of women in the household. So treating women with respect was definitely a huge thing growing up. But yeah, in terms of basketball, it's the greatest situation. We have a lot of dudes who made it to the NBA, which is definitely my goal. We have a lot of guys who even went pro overseas, and now I'm getting to the age where a lot of those guys are my friends, a lot of peers that I grew up with. The list is endless, but speaking on my high school specifically, I went to Rainier Beach, where Jamal Crawford, Doug Christie, we got Kevin Porter, Dejounte Murray. We have a whole bunch of guys who've made it to the league, and things like that. So that just having those guys, be in my same situation that I was in back then and seeing them make it was definitely all the fuel that I needed. And then even them coming back to our school, having open gyms, or just bringing us to the side and giving us a little game, giving us little pointers when it comes to the game of basketball, definitely went a long way and helped me, become the type of player that I am today.
You mentioned the basketball aspect, and that is a huge thing, because in my opinion, I think Washington as a state, but especially Seattle in terms of a city or an area, is probably the most underrated. I mean, you hear states like Michigan or something like that, people say they might be underrated, but they still are typically talked about as one of the better states. Like Seattle and Washington as a whole doesn't get talked about ever in those discussions. And you guys have long list of NBA players that are current, up and coming guys. I mean, each draft class, you're going to have at least 1 or 2 guys. This one, Paulo, Marjon's obviously going to be going out there, Tari Easton as well.
Yep.
What was it like growing up in a place where you have an insane amount of guys that, like you said, come back and can help you? Like, I think Jamal Crawford, I know, helps out a lot. Isaiah Thomas, even though he's not from Seattle, like having this kind of an atmosphere filled of a high intensity focus on basketball. What's it like in that atmosphere in terms of basketball out there?
Man, it's competitive. Every open gym, every pro-am, every league that you play in, there's so much competition. Even guys who, weren't as fortunate enough to make it to the Division I level or to be a pro, we still got guys who can hoop, dudes that play street ball, dudes who just go to the gym and just love basketball. So every gym you walk into is going to be competition. If you ain't ready to compete, then you're going to sit on the side and watch everybody else have fun. But I think having that type of nature and having that competitiveness when it comes to like our community and our state as a whole definitely just builds the next player and makes each other better. For the most part, like I said, like a lot of the dudes who make it, we're all peers, we're all close knit. So you can go to a gym all the way out in the North End or go all the way down south to Tacoma or wherever, and you're pretty much going to know some people that you know. And just having that close-knit community and knowing that, we're all here to compete. We're all trying to be better and reach our goals. And like you said, a lot of people do look over Seattle, even though we have a countless list of guys who made it. So I think just knowing that, it puts a chip on all of our shoulders, and we all just want to push each other to want to make it. So I think that's the best thing about Seattle and Washington as a whole.
You can speak on this a little bit if it applied to you too, but I've had on Paulo and Marjon, those guys, and they've talked about a lot of the time those NBA guys that have made it, guys like Jamal Crawford and Isaiah Thomas specifically, I've heard the most about. They have an influence. They come back a lot. They do the open runs to guys. They kind of take a lot of guys underneath their wing. Has it been a guy that's made it to the NBA from that area that's kind of helped you throughout your journey now? Kind of been a mentor, helped you through your path at all?
Yeah, absolutely. All the dudes who Isaiah Thomas, all the dudes who came through Rainier Beach, but most specifically, like where I have a one-on-one super personal relationship is Nate Robinson. I met him back I was in 7th grade. I have an older brother who's 2 years older than me, and he went to Beach first, Rainier Beach. And I just went up there one day after middle school, and he was always talking like, man, we have open gyms, and we have all the pros come back, Terrence Williams, Jamal Crawford, all those guys, they come back and we hoop, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, I'm a kid, so I want to see all these NBA players. So I went to the open gym, and I met Nate Robinson there. And he kind of just, pulled me and my brother to the side, was like, you guys remind me of me and my brother, blah, 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 blah. And he just kind of talking to us. And I'm just starstruck. I'm like, this is Nate Robinson, 3-time dunk champ. He won state when he was back at Rainier Beach. And he went to UW to play football, ended up going to the league. Like his story is crazy. So I'm just starstruck. And from there, he kind of just will always come back and kind of see us. And the first time he actually got to watch me play was my freshman year when I got to Rainier Beach. We had an open gym in the summer, and he came back, and I was playing against him, and he's seen that I was good, and he's seen the dog in me, and we're both pretty much short guys, just playing with a chip on our shoulder, and he just seen himself in me, and from then on, he's been like my big brother. He's helped me with a lot of decisions I made in my life. He's given me game in terms of life, in terms of business, in terms of just how to be like a good father or a good son, a good whatever the case may be, a good brother, things like that. So he's definitely like the one that I'm close-knit with. We talk pretty much every day about basketball, about funny stuff we see on Instagram, all types of stuff. So yeah, he's like my big brother for sure.
I have to imagine that having a person that's literally walked your shoes, not just in terms of playing the NBA or playing in college, but has literally walked your shoes from growing up where you grew up and have taken the journey in the way you wanted to, you can kind of learn from literally everything he's done. So how big has that been, having Nate Robinson in your life to help you through each journey and each step? How big has that been for you?
Man, it's been huge. He's definitely put me in a lot of circles that I probably wouldn't have been able to put myself in if it wasn't for him. I definitely think I have a close relationship with all the guys who made it pretty much in Seattle because we're just a close-knit community. But when we're talking like speaking on a personal level about, things that both of us have been through in our lives, he's definitely helped me through a lot of situations that I've been in where I didn't have no answers or I didn't know what to do. And he just kind of guided me and just tried to show me the way, our stories in terms of like going to college and you know, hopefully in the near future going pro are definitely different. But coming from the same background and coming from the same living situations and you know, him having his brother and them rocking and hanging out every day and me having my brother and me rocking and hanging out every day and just loving the sport and loving sports in general. Yeah, we could just connect on a lot of levels, and him being in my life is definitely something I'm super grateful for.
What would you say is the biggest lesson or advice he's given you?
Oh man. Two things. I'll probably say one, he always taught me to unapologetically be yourself. So no matter what room you're in, obviously there's a time and place to, you know, be more goofy or to be more serious. But at the end of the day, just make sure you're always yourself. And if people don't accept you for who you are, then, you know, that's fine. But that just means you don't really need them in your life. At the end of the day, just always be authentic, always be yourself. And, you know, the people who need to be in your life are going to gravitate towards you. And if they don't, then that's fine. Wish them well, but just keep living your life. So that's the first lesson. And the second lesson, I would just say that always, he said, always have fun. If you ain't having fun, you know, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. Just try to find the fun in everything, whether it's, even if you are doing something you don't like homework or doing like, you know, a workout that you probably don't want to do, just try to find the fun in it. Because at the end of the day, if you ain't having fun and enjoying your life, then you ain't living it the right way. So just always have fun and always be yourself.
I want to go back to the culture there because you mentioned obviously him having that relationship with you, and now even this whole era, like all the guys that's probably been within 3 or 4 years of your age, you guys are all super tight knit. You guys grew up together, and obviously there's a lot of states out there with a lot more talent too that have great talent coming out of their states. But when I've interviewed a lot of guys, it seems like Seattle, Washington has to be the closest knit group. I think there's certain areas in Texas, and then I've heard Minnesota has a pretty close tight knit group community there too. But why is it that you guys are so close? Like, what allows you guys, even though a lot of you guys weren't teammates too, but like you guys kind of form that the inner circle where you guys are all cool with each other, and the veterans obviously come back and help you guys. Why would you say that culture is so tight knit there?
Man, I just think because I don't know, a lot of the hoopers, even like way before my time, they just were just in the same area. Like our parents just happen to live in South Seattle or live in the Central District or live in Tacoma. You know, we're all just grown up in these areas. And then when we are hooping against each other every day, you know, we're hooping against our friends. So then I think way back then when it started, you know, they came back and had their kids and their kids were doing the same thing they were doing. It's just a cycle. So it's just pretty much everybody knows everybody in Seattle. If you're good at basketball, and even if you're not good at basketball, you still know them just because you see them all the time. And I think, like I said earlier, the main thing is that we know that people overlook us, and we know that we're not getting the respect that we should when it comes to the basketball world. It's getting there. It's way higher than it was, you know, I would say 5-10 years ago, but we're definitely far away from where we should be. And I think all of us just knowing that and all of us really wanting to put on for Seattle, like we got Paulo going all the way to Duke at a top 5 program. You feel me? We had guys go to Louisville like Payne Siva, Shaquan Aaron went to Louisville, Terrence Williams. We have, you know, we got guys going to all these big time schools. And at the end of the day, all we're really trying to do is really put on for Seattle, you know? So that's all of our main goals. When we always make it, we always mention Seattle. If a guy is from Seattle, you're going to know he's from Seattle. You feel me? So I think just having that mentality and having that underdog mentality and just knowing that, you know, we're overlooked and we're just trying to put on and let the world see our talent. That's like the main thing why we're so close, tight knit, because we're all trying to do it together.
This might put you on the spot, but if you were to list your top 5 guys from Seattle of this era, so obviously not including like all the older guys and all that, but let's say however old Dejounte Murray, so I think he's like 25, 26-ish, whatever, all the way up to like 18-ish, like the margin type of guys, anyone going into this upcoming draft, who would you say is the top 5 Seattle players?
Okay. And we're talking about Seattle as a city, right?
Yeah.
Man. And I play with Dejounte. Man. All right, I'm going to throw Paulo in there. Dejounte. Kevin Porter. Trying to think. Man, we got so many guys. And we got dudes where if they didn't get injured, man, they'd be tearing up the league right now. I'll go with my bro Jalen Noel.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that's tough. I want to throw myself in there. Obviously, I would, but for the sake of the five, we're gonna need a. Paulo's kind of he's a big, but we're gonna need a big. I'll take. And that's the thing. We don't even really have bigs like that.
You guys got the McDaniels brothers, right? You guys got those two, right?
Yeah, but they ain't bigs. They just small, you know? We're gonna have to put Paulo at the five. All right, so we're gonna go Dejounte at the one, Jalen at the two. Paulo can play the five. I'll throw. There's a guy by the name of Keith Smith. He went to Oregon and he transferred to Pepperdine. And he's like one of my best friends. But if he didn't get injured, he would definitely be in the league right now. So I'll throw him in there because he was one of the best players in the state at one point. He could play
KPJ, right?
Huh?
And then KPJ at the three?
Yeah, KP at the three and then Keith at the four. That's my five right there. And I know all those guys are all my bros, so that's even better.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that there are a lot of guys that have been injured, and obviously that happens for players wherever you are. But when you look at guys that you grew up with, who would you say would be one guy that you think, like obviously might have been Keith, but who would you say would probably be the one guy that you think might have had the best career, had something that occurred to him? And who would on the other side of that then? Who would you say maybe has been the most underrated guy that has kind of blown up and you didn't expect him to become as good as he is today?
So obviously Keith, but I'll go with I don't know if you know I forget what man, there's not a guy who didn't get injured, but his situation kind of got messed up. But Rio Adams, he went to Franklin, came to Beach, and then he went to Kansas out of high school. And he kind of, he had his little situation, but that boy was nice. So I'll go with him. And then in terms of like being underrated and kind of blowing up now, I would say I would go with the McDaniel brother, Jalen. Jaden, the little one. He was a McDonald's All-American and all that good stuff, but he's slowly making his way in the league right now. He played huge minutes. He made some big shots, made some big plays in the playoffs. So I think his upside is definitely bright for sure.
Well, let's go a little bit more into your story growing up then. So you obviously grew up, and like you said, you didn't grow up with a father figure in your life, or at least a father. So you kind of grew up in a situation where you and your brother were almost the men of the house, and you guys were having to grow into that a lot sooner than most people do. How did that make you into the person you are today?
I think me specifically, I'm the younger brother, so a lot of the things that I would have learned on my own, I got to learn from my brother. So he was the one making all the mistakes and getting in trouble all the time. So I think that definitely helped me because it forced me to be the mature one. My mom couldn't have two bad kids, so so when he would get in trouble or when he would do stuff, my mom would make sure that I didn't do the same things and make the same mistakes. And I would make sure I didn't make the same mistakes because I didn't want to make her mad, things like that. So I think I matured way faster than my brother. And just in terms of like me and him we're very similar, but we're very different in the sense that he's like the life of the party and I'm the one who like would set up the party, the one who gets everybody to come, makes the flyers, do all the business stuff. And he's the one who makes sure the party's popping. So, yeah, just in that sense, I just grew up a little bit faster. I was mature with money. I found a way to make money legally, at a young age and stuff like that. So, yeah, I would say I was more so the man of the house and just making sure my mom was straight. My mom did a hell of a job making sure that we kind of seen it, that we were struggling, but she was good at making it seem like we weren't, She always made sure we had food on the table. The lights cut off a couple of times, but she made sure they was turned right back on. She was working her magic. So kudos to her. She's the best mom in the world. But in terms of our living situation and just growing up, I definitely have to mature a little bit faster than other people my age.
when you started realizing that you might not have necessarily been living the same life that you maybe thought you would, you guys weren't obviously in the best situation. When was that for yourself? And at the same time, did that motivate you in any sense in terms of really trying to embrace the game of basketball, embrace something that could help you either help out the family now or long term?
No, absolutely. That definitely made me want to grind even more because I seen, like I said, I was seeing these NBA guys and, how the money and how, making it to the league and just being successful can change your life and change your family's life. So just seeing them come back, it's different when you see it on social media. It's different when you see them on TV, but knowing that they're right in front of you every single day and that you can talk to them, you can call them whatever you want, they're going to answer. It just makes it more like of a reality. And it makes it like seem like it's a thing that you could reach. So just seeing them do that and, it made me believe that I could do it. It made me want to go wake up at 7 a.m, catch the bus to my high school and run the track. It made me want to go to the gym by myself. This is like we're 12, 13 years old. Nobody wants to go to the gym by themselves. They want to go with all their homies and stuff. But I would go to the track and run the bleachers by myself. I would go to the gym, get up shots by myself, rebound for myself, like just different things like that. Going on runs and just doing whatever I can to make sure I was the best version of myself and make sure that I could, make my dreams a reality. And that's why it was most frustrating when it came time for, a college decision and I didn't really have nowhere else to go. But that, that's going into a whole different story. But yeah, it definitely made me want to grind even 10 times harder for sure.
I know that when you're growing up in that situation where there's obviously distraction to go down the wrong path, that obviously can apply to anyone wherever you are in the world. But obviously in that environment, there's a lot of situations where you could at the time realize and say, this might be an easier way to make money. It might not be the right way or whatever, but you obviously chose to go down the right path. You chose to say, I'm going to stay clean. I'm going to go down and truly pursue my dreams of basketball. How were you able to, this entire way, decide and saying, I'm locking in on basketball. I'm going to ignore the distractions that surround me?
Man, it came from, my mom, my grandma, definitely came from, I would say like guys like Nate Robinson, definitely came from, like I had other mentors in life, like other coaches that, would help me stay on track and things like that. But at the end of the day, I just knew what I wanted in life. And like I had a lot of friends, a lot of peers who went down the wrong road and they're sitting in jail right now in prison, or they're dead, things like that. So I knew that I never wanted that to be my reality. And yes, I easily could have, went down the street and did whatever. Or I could have went over to bro's house and blah, 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 and things like that. But I knew what I wanted at the end of the day. That's why I say I was a little more mature than a lot of the guys. Like growing up, everybody plays sports, every parent puts you in sports. And I just fell in love with basketball and I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And, a lot of other guys, their situation, like I had not the best situation growing up, but a lot of other guys had even worse situations growing up with abusive parents or with drug abuse or with not having parents at all, just things like that. So not to say that, that's an excuse, but their circumstances were definitely worse. So it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel when, it's just darkness around you. So yeah, I just kind of knew what I wanted, and having those guys that were role models and having those guys that were in the league come back and show me the way, I kind of had a blueprint and I had a map and I wanted to follow that map. So that's what I did with my life. And, I wish the other guys that weren't as fortunate as me could have made it to where I am. But, at the end of the day, it's your life and you got to do what you got to do. So, yeah, just in terms of staying focused, just know what you want in life and then just having a blueprint set out for you, it just makes it so much easier. So that's what I did with mine.
Would you say at any point during your career, at least when you still were out this, or obviously going throughout high school, that it ever did get challenging for yourself and you ever did almost kind of get pulled in that way in a certain degree at any aspect? Because obviously you kind of hinted at it earlier, but the recruiting process wasn't obviously something like Paulo's where it was. He had every school in the country wanting him. He had a clear kind of an idea saying, I'm going to Division I. I'm going to have school paid for. I have an NBA potential after that. Your journey was different in terms of college. You didn't have that guarantee at that point. Did it ever get challenging where you end up kind of saying, is this truly what's meant for me? And is it going down a different path, something I could consider?
For sure. Definitely. I can remember 2 times specifically. Definitely coming out of high school and not really having nowhere to go after I felt like I did everything I could possibly do in terms of performance and staying out of trouble and having good grades and things like that. So definitely coming out of high school and then transferring out of Division II, because out of Division II, I didn't really have nowhere to go either. So it's kind of like a repeat of coming out of high school after I did even more at the college level. It just didn't make sense to me. And I didn't know if it was my height or if I wasn't athletic enough. I didn't have a 40-inch vertical. I didn't know what it was. So I think those 2 times specifically, not to say that I was like, forget basketball, I'm about to drop this and, go to the streets or anything, but also of like, man, like, is this really like what you should be doing with your life? Like, yeah, like it sounds good and it sounds possible making it to the league. Like, and you've seen dudes do it, but maybe this just isn't your path. Maybe you should go a different route, woo, 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 woo. And I think in those moments, just after, it's cool to have them moments, to just feel like, oh, maybe I should step back. But I think it's super important to snap out of this. So I would just try to go to the gym, get my mind off of it, or just try to see the positive in everything. Coming out of high school, I made it through high school and I graduated. That's a positive in its own because a lot of people don't get to do that where I'm from. So just doing that was a positive. Going to college, a lot of people don't get to go to college, let alone play basketball. So that was a positive. I just try to focus on the positive. I had people who I trusted and people who I care for in my ear who just telling me, like, just stick with it. It's all good. Like, this is what life's about. One of my favorite rappers helped me get through those times the most, Meek Mill and Nipsey. Those are my favorite 2 rappers all time. And they're real motivational when they get to rapping and making music and things like that. So when I was in my darkest moments and like the times where I feel like I should give up, listening to them guys definitely helped me. So yeah, for sure.
You mentioned rapping. I know you also got into that before, and especially on your bio, I know it mentions that's one of your pastimes, your favorite thing to do off the court is rapping and bowling. So in terms of rapping, how much have you ever pursued that? And is that something you ever will seriously take that seriously and pursue that in any shape or form?
Oh yeah, for sure. In my second life, if I wasn't playing basketball, I'm rapping for sure. You feel me? I love music, bro. Like, I don't know. It just, music gets you through anything. Like, good, bad, the worst, anything. Music is going to be there for you because there's music for all types of emotions. There's music for all types of situations that you go through in life, everything. So music just like the way that, I don't know, it just sounds, but them sounds with them words, it can change your whole mood. So yeah, I love music to death. Like, without music, I don't know where I'd be in my life. But I started rapping, kind of just like writing little lyrics down when I was like probably back in 8th grade, 9th grade. And then as I got older, I just remember always knowing everybody's songs. Like, my mom would put in a CD in the CD player in the car, and I'll just know the whole album. I know every track. I know who's featuring on everything. And then I just got to a point where I got like my sophomore, junior year, I was like, if I know everybody's songs, like, I might as well just start making my own. So then that's kind of how that came about. And then when I finally got to San Francisco, I finally got an opportunity. One of my close friends, Marquise Chris, he was playing for the Warriors. So then when he moved out here, he had built a studio and stuff in his house. And then me and him was in there like every day. And then COVID hit. So then we was really in there every day, just making songs, having fun, doing whatever. And then I finally made a song called The Hope. And then he was like, this is nice, but you should just drop it. And I was like, yeah, I'm just dropping, forget it. So then that was my first single that I dropped. And then I came out with an EP a few months later. And then, yeah, I just kind of try to make music whenever I can, but I'm always writing. I'm always finding new melodies and trying to find new different ways of rapping. All my friends who weren't successful in sports, they all rap, so it's an easy transition. So I still got friends who make a lot of music. They support me in what I do and I support them in what they do. So it's a two-way street. And yeah, I'm gonna make music as long as I'm alive. That's the thing about music though. You don't have to be athletic, You're gonna run out of athleticism at one point, you gotta stop playing basketball, but you can listen and make music for the rest of your life. So that's definitely my plan B if all this don't work out.
The other thing too I've read there is that bowling is your other hobby. Is that something that still applies to you today? Are you still a big bowler? Or?
Yeah, I'm still a big bowler. I don't bowl as much as I used to. I used to bowl like at least 3 times a week, like back when I was in high school. And then I got to college, and you're just way more busy when you get to college.
Yeah.
And Central Washington didn't have a bowling alley, so I couldn't bowl while I was out there. And then came to San Francisco, and they got a bowling alley, but it's expensive. Everything's expensive out here, so
Yeah.
that kind of slowed down. But whenever I get to the alley, it still strikes every time. You feel me? So yeah, I love bowling for sure.
Now, you might not have had a huge name recruiting wise coming out of high school, but you did break a record alongside your brother, and that is that you guys have the most state championships combined by any brothers coming out of Washington. So I want to get into your relationship with you two then, because you two grew up, obviously both could play basketball. What was that like?
Man, it was the best. He's definitely like, and a lot of credit don't really go to him because nobody ever really asked me about the influence that my brother had on me, but I was trying to be like him my whole time growing up. I always wanted to hang out him when he was going with his friends. I try to dress like him. I try to talk like him. I try to walk like him. I try to shake people's hands just like him. All types of stuff. When it comes to basketball, I couldn't really play like him because he was left-handed. So the only thing I could really take from him was his defense. So that's pretty much where my defensive intensity and the way like I play with so much passion, all that comes from him for sure. Like it's not even close. So in terms of influence, he definitely influenced a lot of the things in my life. And that's why now that, I'm somewhat successful in, getting whatever attention or whatever you want to call it, a lot of it, I want to just thank him for because, I was with him majority of the time. My mom would be at work, my grandma would be at work. So, we would go to the same schools for however many years. And then we'd come home and be with each other all the time, playing video games, playing one-on-one, arguing, fighting, doing whatever. But I was always with my brother. So yeah, he definitely played a huge part in my life and to where I am and the type of person I am today. So definitely want to thank him for that. For sure.
Let's say you two are going to play a one-on-one game right now. Who's going to win that game? If we're going to 21. Who's winning that game? What's the score going to be?
Me. I'm going to beat him 21-0. Yeah.
Were you always able to beat him growing up, or when did that start happening for you?
Nah, not at all. Growing up, he would always bully me, always push me to the ground, always elbow me, just do little sneaky stuff. And then he's the type of person where after he beats you, even while he's winning the game, he'll talk mess. So it makes it even worse. So yeah, growing up, he was always big brother. But then I would say like when I got to like my sophomore, junior year, and we were in high school at the same time, that's when I started like getting a little better and like finding my own way to play my own game. And then, yeah, I just got bigger and stronger. And then it was just a wrap. It won't be 21-0. I'll probably, if we like for real play 21, I think I'll win like 22 to like 15 because at the end I'll hit a 2. I just get the 2 off. So it'll be like 22 to 15 for sure. Yeah.
Well, let's hop into your high school career. And before we actually talk about the games you played out there, what were your expectations heading into high school? You go to a school that is very well known, not just in the state, but that Rainier Beach obviously is well known across the country now. But was the expectation for yourself to become a high level, high major Division I recruit? Is that what you thought for yourself? Did you think you just would be going to college, Division I, D2, or what were you expecting heading into your high school career?
Man, I knew for sure it was going to be a battle. Just knowing all the guys who, came through Rainier Beach and all the guys who were already there when I was on my way up, it was definitely going to be a battle. I knew for sure that was going to be the best chance of me playing Division I, though. And, when you're a kid and you're in middle school and stuff, it's easy to say, oh, I want to play D1 until it's really time to like, So I knew that was going to be the best chance for me to make it to Division I. And yeah, so I guess I would say my expectations was just knowing I was going to win some championships, wanting to be a part of the team that wins the championships and not just be on the bench. And then getting a scholarship so my mom didn't have to pay for no school. Because if I'm being completely honest, if I didn't get a scholarship, I would not be in school right now. And I feel like that's a lot of people's reality because like it costs $70,000 a year to go to school here at San Francisco. So just different, like just, financial situations and things like that. I wouldn't want to put my mom through that type of stress. And yeah, so honestly, I don't know what I'd be doing right now, but I probably would not be in college because it's too expensive and it doesn't make sense to me. you come to school and you try to like, and I love San Francisco and the classes here are amazing, but like, it's not worth it to me. Like all the stuff that you can learn in college, I feel like you can learn on YouTube or you can learn through the internet. For the majority of the part, you're paying for the experience of college, to come here to meet different people, to, have fun, go to parties and go to basketball games and things like that. And that's more so what you're paying for. It's less of the educational part. So knowing that I was stepping into a powerhouse high school, what I would say, and then the things that I was able to do even my freshman year. My freshman year, we won state, and we were the first public school to go to Dick's Nationals in New York. Mm-hmm. So just breaking barriers like that, and we went 30-0 that year, and we won the state. So it was just like, wow, this is only my first year here, so I can only imagine what the next 3 are going to be like. So I just think those are majority of my expectations going into Rainier Beach.
Had you already fallen in love with the game of basketball heading into high school? Was that something you developed more so later on? Was it even when you first picked up a ball, did you fall in love? Or when did you start really falling in love with basketball?
My first love was football, honestly. I was super nice in football. I was in the newspapers like every weekend. I averaged like 3-4 touchdowns a game. Like I was nice. And I probably could play in college, like if I just took it serious and kept it going. Mm-hmm. But I probably fell in love with basketball. Man, I would say somewhere like toward the end of my elementary, like 4th, 5th grade. Because we were young, my mom made sure to put us in every sport. So we did everything. We played football, baseball, basketball. We was in gymnastics. We did, we did everything. We did tennis. We did everything except soccer. We swam. We did everything. So my mom, I think that's the fire thing about my mom too. Like she did that because one, it expands our horizon and not only thinking about one sport, and two, it allows us to pick what sport we like the most and then rock with that one. So I've always played basketball since I was 4, and I've been playing football since you're old enough to play, which is 6. So I love football the most because that's what I was the best at the time. And then, I don't know, something just clicked. I just started getting better when I was toward the end of my elementary. And then when I got to middle school, I played for my middle school team, and I was just nice. And then I just kept getting better and better. And then, I just chose basketball. But when I got to high school, I was scared. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I want to play football, but everybody's way bigger than me, and I'm not trying to get injured because I want to play basketball. So then the coach was like, man, just come out. Just come, try out. You can play JV, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I got you, coach, next year. It's good. I got you. So then sophomore year comes. He's like, come out and play. I'm like, we just want state. Let me just, you feel me? Like, I got you, coach. I'm going to get bigger, stronger. I'm going to come out next year. Junior year come. We went state again. He's like, you going to come out this year? I was like, coach, I got you. Senior year, it's my last year. I got you. I'm coming out. And it's senior year, I'm like, I'm getting ready for college. I'm not about to play no football. So then I never ended up playing in high school. But, I would say middle school into my elementary, that's when I started taking basketball serious.
Do you ever regret? Like, would you want to go out there and play a year or two of football if you could have?
Yeah, I try to live my life not regretting nothing. But if I could go back, I'd definitely get at least 2 years in, you feel me? Because I easily could have played varsity. Like, I have friends that played on the team and stuff, and no disrespect to them, but I was just better than them. So I easily could have played on varsity. I probably could have made some shake, could have snuck into like a little Pac-12 school or something. I don't know. I'm quick and I'm fast, so I could have played a little skill position, and I could have made it for sure. So if I could go back, I'd probably play at least 2 years, you feel me, just to say I did it. And I played baseball too. I randomly went out for baseball after we went to play my junior year. The coach was gassing my head. He was like, you can go to the league next year out of high school. I was like, yo, get it. I'm going to just go out. And then I went out, and I was cool. I was a nice little shortstop. No balls really got past me, but I couldn't hit. So then I was just like, I got to get back to the court. But yeah.
Was Rainier Beach the school that you was districting for? Like that's the school you kind of had to go to, or was that the school that you just kind of said, this is the best basketball. I know the legacy. I want to go here.
At the time, they made a rule where you got to go to the school that's in your area that you live in. But my school was so known for its negativity. Like nobody ever wanted to go to my school. Like it was in like one of the worst neighborhoods in Seattle, and And the bad thing about it is the school name is the name of the area. So every time somebody would hear, oh, somebody got shot in Rainier Beach, they're talking about the area, but they would automatically think the school. So it just had a bad stigma. And there was some delinquents that went to the school and things like that, gangs or gang members or whatever. But it was an open school. So they just were trying to get as many students as possible. So even if you lived out of the district, you could still go to Rainier Beach. So, my brother went there when I was in 7th grade. And there was a school that was closer to my house that we could have went to, Franklin. They had like Aaron Brooks, Peyton Siva, Alvin Snow, guys like that. But we chose Rainier Beach, and it was the best decision that we made. So
the other aspect about you is obviously anyone that knows you and has watched you play knows that you're not necessarily the tallest point guard out there. You obviously have grown a little bit over time, but where were you heading into high school? Where were you at height wise?
Man, going into high school, I was probably like 5'8", 5'7". I ain't grown that much since, but I've grown enough to make some mistake at this level. So I was pretty short coming into high school. I didn't grow to like my junior year. Then I was about like 5'10" and grow like an inch since then. So yeah.
Well, let's go to that freshman season because, as you said, you become the first team from the state to make Dix, which obviously at that time was the biggest thing. Now it's Geico National Tournament Championship, but at that point it was the Dix National Championship. So you guys had a school in Washington that could go make it all the way up to that level, which obviously is a huge deal. And you have Dejounte Murray, who I think everyone knows who that is at this point. Your brother's on the team. You come in as a freshman. What was it like? Just take us to that first year. Like, what was it like just playing on that team your very first year in high school?
Man, it was a movie. And I was on JV. But our coach let me swing. So every time, if we were playing a team that we were blowing out on JV, I wouldn't play the last quarter, or I wouldn't play the last 2 quarters, so I could play 2 quarters on varsity. So I was swinging the whole year. So everywhere the varsity team went, I would go. When they would go on their little trips, I went to Les Schwab. When we played like Bishop Gorman. We played Jalil Okafor, all them dudes. We played some good teams when we went down there. And we just blew them out the water. So then we kind of put the country on notice. Then we went down to Boston. I forgot who we played, but we blew them out the water. And then we was just beating every team that's like a top team in the country. So then we was really putting the country on notice. And everywhere we went, like people would know us. Like they wouldn't know me, obviously, but like if we were walking to like, I don't know, a wing stop or something, people would be like, oh, you guys play for Beach, blah, 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 blah. Stuff like that. So it was almost like we were celebrities in high school. And I'm a freshman. I got on the sweatsuit. So, I'm in that group. I'm feeling good. I'm like, man, this is crazy. And one of my best friends at the time, he was kind of swinging some games with me too. So it was just me and him all the time. And we was just rocking, hanging out. But yeah, man, it was definitely like a movie. And we're a Nike school. So we're getting all the, Nike sweatsuits and all the shoes and stuff like that. And then when we got to the end we won state, they was like, you guys got a chance to make nationals. And no public schools ever made nationals. So it's private schools or the prep schools. So then we're like, man, can we do it? So then we had to do like this whole campaign. And like, I remember we had newspapers coming to our school and all type of video guys from the Channel 5 News and things like that. And it was really like a movie, man. It was like we need to have a documentary on that team, but it was like a movie every day, man. I remember we finally got the news that we could go, and we had like a little celebration in the gym. And then Nike sent us some customized hyper dunks. They had like Rainier Beach Vikings, and they had RB on the back, and they were orange and blue and white. They were fire. I think I still got them back in Seattle, but we started getting a whole bunch of customized stuff, and then we flew out to New York, and that was my first time being in New York. So I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, we're going to see the Statue of Liberty. We're going down. At the time, they had a Jordan brand gym that they had. It was like ducked off in the cut. We got to practice there. Carmelo Anthony had just left when we was pulling up, so we kind of seen him on the way out. And it was just like a movie, man. And I'm a freshman at the time. I'm a little kid, so I'm like, man, this is crazy. I can only imagine what the next 2 years are in store for us. So, man, it was crazy. And then we lost the first round to Philly Prep. They had like 4 pros, 4 NBA guys at the time, and we didn't play our best. My brother played really good, but our team as a whole really didn't play the best, and we ended up losing by like 15 or so. But yeah, man, it was crazy.
The biggest aspect in terms of your career development that year, obviously you didn't get to play a ton on varsity, but you get to go pretty much every practice. You get to go up against an NBA All-Star now, and Dejounte Murray, who obviously we know what he's capable of and who he is today. And he was an incredible player out there in high school too. So how big was that for you to be able to go every single practice against a guy of his caliber, push you every single day your first couple of years? How big was that for you?
Man, for the most part, it was normal because I already been doing it. My brother and Dejounte are the same age, and they been playing on the same AAU team their whole life. So I've always knew Dejounte. Like we call him Bay Boy, that's his nickname. So I've been knowing him my whole life. He's like my big brother too. Like I can call him whenever I need to. When he comes to SF, we link up, get food or whatever, and just things like that. So he's really like a close friend to me, a close brother. But yeah, back to playing against him. Definitely playing against him makes you better for sure because he's gonna push you. He don't care who you are. And there's countless of videos on YouTube of him playing against back in the pro in Jamal Crawford's pro-am. We play against pros all the time. And I think there was one night when Jamal was having his wedding and he brought out Chris Paul and Matt Barnes and brought out a whole bunch of guys. And Dejounte stole the show. He went crazy. So he don't care who he's going against. He's going to play as hard as he can. And he's going to try to bust your butt. So I think him having that mentality and all of us just being from the same neighborhood and being from the same area, like nobody wants to, get their butt busted. And the next day you're like, oh, I was busting his butt yesterday, blah, blah, blah. Nobody likes that, So at the end of the day, we're going to try our hardest to not get hooped and things like that. And playing against him definitely makes you better. He's a long defender, very skilled. He can score the ball. He can basically do it all. He gets his team involved, all that. So, yeah, definitely help. And that's what I'm saying. Like, he's another guy who's from the same exact area, and we all grew up, and he does his part in giving back. He does his part in, handing out his number and giving game to whoever he can. It's just a cycle. And when I make it and it's my time to do what I got to do, I'm going to do what I got to do. Give my number out, come back to my high school, give game, do whatever I got to do. And that's how you keep the cycle going. And that's how we get everybody out the hood. So that's the plan.
So you got to give us your craziest Dejounte Murray story from rather it be at a practice, a game you watched, a pro-am, whatever it is. Like, what's the craziest story that you think of when you can think back of all the times you've been with him?
Man. All right, I got two quick stories. Man. So I'll say this one. Me and him have the records at Rainier Beach for most points scored in a game. His is 52, and that was against Franklin. And, it was his junior year. No, it was his senior year. So I was a sophomore. I'm on the court, and, like, he's just scoring every play. But, you're not thinking he's like, it's all right. He probably got, like, 20 or 30. But he had that at halftime. Mm-hmm. And then he kept going the second half, and he was just going crazy. And then at the end, we're like, how much he had? They're like 52. We're like, damn, that's crazy. And, like, that was the most points ever scored. Mine's is 49. Mine's happened against O'Day my senior year too. And it was just one of them games where, the hoop's hella big and you're just getting buckets. But so yeah, me and him hold the records for most points scored in the game. And then another story, we were playing against West Seattle, and he ended up having with like 33 points and like 30 rebounds. Like something crazy. He had a 30 and 30 game. It was something I ain't never seen ever in my life. And mind you, he's big now. Like he's been in the league for 4 some years, 5 years. So he's big. He got that meal plan and he got the weight. But back then he was skinnier than I am now. And he was grabbing rebound after rebound after rebound, putting it up, layup, rebound, layup. And then at the end, they said he had 30 and 30. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. So I would say those two performances, right next to the performance he put against Chris Paul and them when they came out for Jamal's wedding. I would say those are top 3 just performances where I'm like, man, this is crazy. And then all the stuff he's done in the league for sure, but like just knowing back then that he was just going crazy, like you knew he was going to make it to the league one way or another. You knew he was going to be successful because he works hard. He's in the gym every day. He doesn't worry about all the stuff and all the distractions. he shuts out everybody and he gets in the gym and he'll be in there for however long he needs to. And he's in there every single day just working, trying to be better and trying to be the best player he can be. And he's not to the point where he's like, oh, I need to listen to nobody. Like, he'll pick people's brains. He was picking Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, these are Hall of Famers. Tim Duncan, all those guys, Coach Pop, he was in a great situation. He got put into a great organization with great guys. So him being able to pick their brains and him being able to pick Jamal Crawford's brain when Jamal took him under his wing, growing up, he's just willing to learn and just be the best version of himself. And it's showing in the NBA right now and being an all-star and stuff like that. So definitely happy for him. But playing against him every day, definitely is going to make you better for sure.
Well, let's go into your sophomore year then. You get a little bit larger role that season, but you look at the names on that roster. Dejounte obviously still there. Your brother's still there for the senior year. You're now a sophomore, and you guys get a freshman that people now probably know well as well, and Kevin Porter Jr. Walk us through that, because you guys now have 2 NBA first guys that are in the NBA today. You have yourself, who's an all-college player. Your brother's a college player. What was that team like?
That team was pretty nice. We didn't have, aside from those guys you just named, we didn't have, the guys, on paper like we did in my freshman year. Mm-hmm. But we had so it was Ivy Smith. He's out of Tacoma. He went to Grambling, played there for 4 years. Me, my brother Dejounte, Kevin. Then we had Vince. We had a guy named Vince. He was a pretty good high school basketball player. I think he went on to play JUCO somewhere, had a pretty good career. And we had a few other guys, man. And we weren't the best team on paper, but when it came time to roll that ball out, we was here with it. We was ready to play. You feel me? We did whatever we could. We went to Les Schwab. We didn't end up winning, but we competed there. We went to, floor all over the country throughout that year. And we made it all the way to the championship. We ended up losing to Garfield. And at the time, Garfield had Terrell Brown. He just led the Pac-12 in scoring. Mm-hmm. They had Jay Sean Augusto. He was an internet sensation. He played at New York. Who else they had? They had Dejounte Davis. Mm-hmm. He just finished up at UW. He was a 4-year starter at Stanford. They had Jalen Noel. They had, they had all types of guys. So we played them in the championship, ended up losing. My brother ended up going crazy, though. He had something 30. And we just came up short at the end by 4 or 5 points. But, man, that year was crazy, too. And, I went to state every single year I played. Always played with great guys, always played with great teams. But, yeah, so sophomore year was definitely a fun year, too, for sure.
When you talk about Kevin, you two obviously became a dynamic duo. With Dejounte, obviously, was more so you were just part of the team, and then you became a rotational piece your sophomore year. But you and Kevin become the dynamic duo that eventually leads you guys to a state championship later on. But did you two click right away? Did you guys know each other growing up, or how'd you guys form that dynamic duo together?
Yeah, no, Kevin, that's my little bro. We played on the same AAU team for RSB when we were kids, and it was RSB and then the Rainier Vista. They transition into each other. So yeah, we have been knowing each other our whole lives. We played football against each other, things like that. So we was always close. And then we ended up he came into Rainier Beach my sophomore year for his freshman year. So we was already, we already knew each other. We was already cool. We was just happy to be going to school and playing basketball with the guys we grew up with and the guys we've been close with. So there wasn't no need to build chemistry or anything like that. It was just we're just hooping with each other we're at the park or we're at a late night or something. So fast forward into my junior year when Kev became more of a factor and I became more of a factor. That's the year we won state. And to me, aside from the freshman year team, we obviously had All-Americans, things like that. My junior year was my favorite year to play because that was my championship that I, helped a lot with. And that year we had me, Kevin Porter, we had Keith Smith, we had Sam Cunliffe, and we had, I forgot who we had at the 5. We was interchangeable. We had all types of guys. But yeah, that's the year we ended up winning. And for the most part, that whole starting 5 played a big factor. We all averaged double digits. We was all killing. And I think that year, that's when Kev really put the state on notice. All right, Kev's getting nice. He's starting to dunk. He's starting to find his little wiggle, his little James Harden wiggle, things like that. So that's when he was really starting to come into like the type of player that he is today. And then my senior year, that's when it just, took over. Everybody knew who he was in the state for the most part. And then on the West Coast, he started going to Pangos camp and different things like that. And then we all know what happened his senior year. He had that dunk where he went on the back and punched on the dude. And then after that, it was a wrap. The whole country knew who he was. You feel me? And him doing that put Rainier Beach even more on the map, put Seattle even more on the map. So everybody was just happy for him. That dunk still shows up on my feed to this day. And it's crazy. I don't know how he did that. He just, he be doing stuff naturally. Like it's the things like, I think a lot of the things like the way our guards think that come from Seattle, we don't have like set moves that we have preset. Like I think, like we just do what's based off the defender and how they're guarding us. So I think that play, he did his little thing at the beginning, and then the dude reached, he went behind his back and it just took off. And then there just so happened to be a cameraman at the baseline, and then, that's his history. So he's starting to find his way in the league. He started off kind of rough up there in Cleveland and stuff like that, but he's definitely starting to, find his role, get a little bit comfortable, and just be able to, really show the world his skill. So definitely happy for him for sure.
Obviously, as you said, there's the dunk that everyone in the world knows him for, but you were around him, as you said, growing up and then obviously at practices. Was that the craziest dunk you ever seen? Obviously, you weren't in person there for, but like obviously knowing that dunk, did he ever do something crazier than that at a practice or an open run that maybe wasn't on camera?
Nah, I mean, we have like the little dunks where, people throw lobs and do stuff like that. I think that's by far the craziest. Aside from craziest dunk he's ever done, that's by far the craziest dunk I've seen anyone do in the game. Like for you to like react to a dude, go behind your back, and then still have the hand-eye coordination to really take off and punch on somebody, like that's tough. Like, and then like it blew up for a reason because that dunk is crazy. I've seen like a million different types of dunks and people getting dunked on and stuff like that, but I think that's for sure. I definitely got the ribbon for the craziest dunk I've ever seen, for sure.
So we're at that point now where you're in your upperclassmen years, you become the guy and all that, but we go back a little bit, kind of goes forward, I guess, but talking about your recruiting aspect, you don't leave with any offers though. But at that point in time, you obviously didn't have offers. You might've had some interest, maybe talking to coaches, whatever it might've been. Where were you in terms of thinking of your career long-term? Like, did you still believe at that point that offers were going to come? Like you were still confident in basketball, or where were you in terms of where you thought your career was going to look like heading into or going through your upperclassmen year as a junior season?
Man, I thought I was super confident. I knew for sure I was going to get something. I don't know if it was going to be all the way on the East Coast or down south or where, but I knew I was going to get something. I played in the EYBL, which is the top Nike league. I played, with all these guys I've been playing with for the last 4 years, going to Les Schwab, going to New York, being on the stage. And then when it came my time to perform, I was performing. It was my junior, senior year. I won state, averaging about, anywhere between 12 and 15 points, getting my guys involved, showing I can shoot, showing I can, play defense. And my grades are like immaculate. Like I finished with honors or something like that. So I thought I was doing everything right. And then when it came time for, coaches to start calling, nobody was calling. And like, I had to like find myself like reaching out to people and seeing like, hey, can you see if, such and such is interested in me, like things like that. Because it's getting closer and closer to signing date and it's getting closer and closer to when school starts and I still don't know where I'm going. I even thought like, and I just got done saying like, I wouldn't want my mom to pay for school, but it got to a point where I'm like, man, do I need to like walk on somewhere and just see if I can walk on, have her pay for a year and then, I get as many scholarships as I can, like for academics or financial aid. And then after that, she don't got to pay no more. And I was going to try to walk on at Oregon or at UW. But then I talked to the UW coach. He was like, I don't think that's best. And then I was talking to the Oregon coach. They was like, if you really want to pay this amount of money to come to our school, like you can, but there ain't no guarantee that we're going to give you a scholarship out there. So I was like, nah, I don't even want to do that. And that's not even the smartest thing to do. Like the goal is to get school paid for. So then I was thinking about going JUCO route. I was talking to a lot of JUCO coaches. I think I narrowed it down to like some JUCO in New Mexico or some JUCO in Arizona, something like that. Because my brother he went the JUCO route, so I was familiar with the teams and like the the programs and the coaches and stuff like that. So yeah, man, it was just a really tough process, man. It was very long, very strung out for sure. But like I want to say like, man, like May, June, maybe even July. Like that's when I finally realized where I was going, and I got a call from Central Washington, and it was like, look, we don't have a full scholarship, but we got an 80% scholarship that we can give you. Blah 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 blah. You'll be able to play college ball. It's not too far from home. Your mom can come visit you, come watch your games, and at the time, it just made the most sense to me rather than going to JUCO. And when I was going into Central, I had it planned out that I was going to be there for 4 years, trying to be as legendary as I can and try to just make the most of the experience. And I know it's difficult going to the league under D2, but I was determined to make it happen. And then, yeah, that's kind of how that went. It was super stressful, bro. I just remember like it was yesterday. I used to sit on my bed crying, like, damn, I'm not going to school. Like, nobody want me. Like, this is crazy. Like, after all I done did, and after, I've shown that I could be a good kid, because I seen other dudes who I knew I was better than get scholarships. And I'm like, damn, but then I had to just get out of that mindset, because at the end of the day, that's their journey, and they did whatever, they did, because that's their journey and that's how they're going to live their life. You should be happy for them. One, because they're from the same area as you. And two, because they're going to school and getting paid for it. So why are you hating? So then I just had to get out of that mindset and just worry about myself and worry about how I can change my situation rather than worry about what other people are doing. So then, yeah, once I got out of that mindset and then just accepted the fact that I had to go to Central Washington and just go crazy, then that's what I did.
My last thing about high school that I want to touch up on is you look back now at all the memories you created, everything you accomplished, everything you did there. What would you say is your favorite high school memory that you made?
Sports wise, I'll say winning state my junior year, because that one meant the most, and like that was like my team for the most part, and like we were the underdogs that year. Honestly, we had like lost a bunch of games we was not supposed to lose, and then we ended up being like one of the like lowest seeds when it came time for state. And usually we would meet Garfield in the championship because they would be the best and we would be the best. So we're on different sides, but we finished our regular season so terribly that we was at the bottom and ended up being on the same side of them. So then our last like 3 games of the regular season, we had to win every single game. So then we won those 3, got to districts, or got to Metro, lost that game, and then we was like, that put us at the bottom of the playoff tree. So then we had to win districts. Then we went to state, had to win the first 2 games. Usually when we go to state, we only got to play 2 or 3 games, but this year we had to play 4 or 5. So then we won the first 2 games. Then we ended up seeing Garfield in the semifinals. So then we played Garfield and then we beat them. That game was crazy. And then we ended up playing O'Day in the championship. We blew O'Day out by like 30. Like that game was out of pocket. Like we were celebrating on the sides with like 10 minutes left in the game. Like it was bad. But yeah, so that whole year was just crazy. We had so much drama on the team, and like guys getting in fights the day before we go to state, and like, just dudes getting in trouble, dudes having attitudes, and just we had a whole bunch of stuff going on that year. So for us to come out on top and like really do it as a team and really do it as a family, like really meant the most. So I'll say that for the sports. And then for school wise, just graduating, just walking across the stage, having my little honors court and then having my little basketball little thing. So yeah, definitely graduating, because that made my mom super proud for sure.
So let's go a little bit deeper in that recruiting process now. You end high school, and you obviously still have the dream of playing D1, whatever it might have been, but you end up not even getting a full-on scholarship to Division II. Why do you think that is? When you look back at it, or maybe even coaches did tell you, but why do you feel like, because you come off winning, having a pretty solid year, you've been a 2-time state champion, you just were part of second team All Metro in that senior season. Why do you feel like it was that coaches at the Division I level, or maybe even Division II with a full offer, didn't want to give you those offers at that point in time?
Honestly, I couldn't even tell you, man. I still think about it to this day. Like I really don't have an answer. I try to blame it on like, I don't know. I try to blame it on my athleticism, or I try to blame it on my height. But like you see guys, especially at Division II, you see guys my height all the time. You know. Um, so honestly, I just couldn't tell you. I like somebody brought it up to me, and I was like, maybe the coaches think that you're getting Division I looks, so the Division II schools aren't trying to, call you. When in all reality, nobody's calling you. But then I don't know. It just doesn't really make sense to me, because if I want a player, I'm going to call them and at least see a situation, So I don't know, but I really cannot tell you. The coaches that who could have recruited me that are coaches now, um, I don't know. I haven't asked them. Maybe I should ask them one day. But I don't know. But I couldn't give you an answer.
So if someone were to ask you at that point, where did you feel like you were? Like, did you think that at least you're a Division I player? Did you think that you were even maybe a top 100 type player, type 200 type player in that recruiting class? Or how highly did you view of yourself at that point in time?
I mean, for the most part, I was realistic. I didn't think I should be at Duke or Kansas or anything like that.
Yeah.
For the work that I put in and the mentality that I had, and the type of player that I was, I felt like I was at least a mid-major guard. You feel me? Like, of course, I see all my friends going to Oregon and going to Arizona State and going to Kansas and going to all these big schools. My dream school growing up at first was USC because Reggie Bush, because I was playing football back then.
Yeah.
Then it became Oregon when I got to high school. And then toward the end, it became UW. So those are my main three schools, and those are all Pac-12 schools. So I think at the time, coming out of high school, my ceiling was Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
So anything under that, not to say that the leagues were weak at the time, but like, WCC, Mountain West, Big West, whatever. So I just thought I was at least somewhere in that realm.
Well, you end up going to school, like you said, that it wasn't even 100% paid for. You still had an 80% scholarship, but you still had to pay some money for it.
Yep.
How did you embrace or accept that? Because obviously your goal was you didn't want to have to pay for it at all. That was what you kind of needed. So, I mean, obviously it helped out a lot, but still, how did you get through that? And how did you ultimately deal with knowing that you weren't even on a full scholarship at the Division II level?
It's just like at the end of the day, like I always told my mom, like, you're not gonna have to pay for school. Like that was a goal. So granted, she didn't have to pay as much. I don't know. I kind of felt like I failed her in a way because she still had to pay, It was in-state, so, we got that financial support. We got financial aid and stuff like that, so that it kind of helped for the most part. But we still had to like take out loans and things like that, so I could still have food, food money and stuff like that, and just be able to enjoy myself and not feel like I have to struggle every time I want to eat food. So yeah, that was definitely tough and just annoying because I knew I was good enough, and it wasn't even that Central was calling me because they didn't feel like I was good enough to get a full ride. They just didn't have no scholarships left. So then it was like the best we can do is this 80, this 80%, whatever. So yeah, I just had to just accept it. It was either take the 80% or go play JUCO in the middle of nowhere. So I was like, it's my first year of school, and it's a Division II, and it's a university. I already had two of my friends that went to my same high school, and then another guy was from the same area. They're already on a team, so I already had a good understanding of what the program was and how it was going to be and things like that. And a crazy story, when I got to Central Washington, they had planned on me redshirting. I wasn't even supposed to play. Like it was me and this other freshman, and they have like brought us into the office and was like, look, we had 2 scrimmages, and then the scrimmages I did good. So after the end of the scrimmages, they were like, look, they brought him in, he had his meeting, and then they brought me in after. It was like, look, we had plans on you redshirting this year. Like, we didn't want you to play. We didn't think you were ready. We didn't think this. We didn't think that. We think you need to put on some more pounds, blah, blah, blah. But in these 2 scrimmages, you showed us you could play. So we're just going, fill you out. They have like a rule where if you don't play a certain amount of minutes, you can still redshirt. So they're just going to fill me out the first couple games to see how I did against other competition in like a real setting. And then I ended up going crazy, having 28. So then the rest was like, yeah, bro, you're playing this year. We need you. So that's kind of how that went.
That is insane to think about because you at that point in time, once again, you were a Division II player, now you're on a full ride there. Then you say, obviously, you were going to have to register that season potentially. To see where you are at today, where you're a player that obviously tested the NBA waters, you're a player that is an all-conference player, well, almost 100% guaranteed you're going to be a conference player again this upcoming year. Is it crazy seeing how far you come, or is this now kind of something you expected? Like you knew that all along that you just needed the opportunity, you would become as good as you are now?
Definitely an opportunity. I know I've came a long way, but I haven't really made it far. So that's just my mentality. I don't try to be too high or too low. I try to just stay right in the middle. I definitely appreciate everything that I've been through, and I wouldn't want to change a thing. But I also know excuse my language, but I haven't really done. So for the most part, I just try to keep that in my mentality and just stay grounded and stay humble. Because at the end of the day, like there's another kid who wants to be in my position. You know, I was that kid who wanted to be in this position. So, and I knew back then I would do whatever it would take to be in this position. So, just knowing that, just kind of always having that chip and just always looking over your shoulder and knowing that somebody wants your spot. I just try to keep that mentality and just keep it for as long as I can because there's always somebody who's trying to take your job, especially, getting to that next level when you become pro and things like that. So, um, yeah, no, I'm definitely happy that I went through everything I went through because it made me stronger and made me know that everything ain't sweet and everything's not gonna be, straight going up. It's a marathon. It's gonna be up and down. There's gonna be highs, there's gonna be lows, but you gotta just stick with it. And at the end of the day, the strong survive. There's a lot of dudes who aren't where I'm at because they couldn't survive, and I don't know if it was the mentality or the opportunity, but I just know that this is my plan and I gotta live, you know, my life. So just try to stay grounded and just keep working, keep my head down, stay focused.
I want to go into the aspects inside the locker room of that team because you end up becoming one of the main pieces on that roster. You become the freshman of the year, all this different type of stuff. But as you mentioned, you weren't even on a full scholarship yet. And a lot of the guys were on full scholarships. Did that ever get you like how did you kind of take that part in? Because obviously it had to be hard, like saying, you're one of not the most valuable player on this team. You're not getting the full scholarship. Did that ever become something that you look down on yourself at any point? Did you ever kind of take that a different way, or how did you take that in?
No, I accepted it. For the most part, like I said, like I knew a lot of guys on the team, and for the most part, like my personality, like people want to gravitate toward me. So it wasn't maybe if like dudes were like, I mean, for lack of terms, like hating, it wasn't something that was brought to my attention because I feel like I'm a likable guy, and at the end of the day, I know where my heart is, and I want to see everybody win, especially my teammates. So it was never like, man, who's this little guy coming in trying to woo, 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 woo. It was more so like, okay, this little bro, like, he's worked hard to get here and he's showing that he's helping us. Like, let me put my arm around him and just try to help him show him the way. But for the most part, there was some unfortunate situations because at first, like, obviously, I went from red shirt, or so not having a scholarship, not having a full scholarship, to red shirt, to not red shirt, but playing. And then after I had the 28, I started the next game after. So I took like, one of the starter spots and stuff like that. But for the most part, it wasn't never on some like, and he was a senior too. He was a fifth-year senior at the time, but he never like showed envy toward me. Even if he did have some, he never showed it toward me. For the most part, he always showed love. And it's crazy because even like halfway through the season, he was one of the first people to walk up to me and say, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, you got to get out of here. Like, you're too good for this league, bro. Like, I see like a future in you, bro. And like staying here at Central Washington is only gonna hold you back because you're not gonna be able to reach your ceiling. And like when he said it to me, I kind of was just like, shit, I thought I was gonna be here for the next 3 years. You feel me? Like I thought I was gonna graduate from here. So I just started thinking, I'm like, maybe I should just bet on myself, man. Like I know I'm a Division I player, and somebody's gonna see that I am. So I kind of took that and ran with it, and yeah, I had a pretty good year.
So we obviously won't necessarily go with the OC thing. I touched up on it, but you go through that year, you end up winning conference, freshman of the year, you get all this stuff occurring. Then you have that conversation, like you said, and you end up entering the transfer portal the old school way where you're going to have to sit out anyways when you do transfer. But take us through this process now because you are going from Division II now, once again, non-full scholarship, and your goal obviously doing this would be to go Division I. What was this recruiting process like? Like who was showing interest in you? Was there a lot of schools, a couple of schools, just San Francisco? How did you also end up at San Francisco?
Man, this is another one of them stressful moments, man. Because so initially, the main thing. So I was like probably like 80% sure, 70. I was probably 70% sure that I was leaving. I was going to enter the portal. But the day that we lost our conference, we lost the first round of the conference tournament. The day after when we got back to school, they had fired my coaches, the whole coaching staff. So then after that, I'm like, I'm for sure not coming back. You feel me? Like these guys are the ones who recruited me and gave me the chance, and they're not going to be here for the next few years. So it's bad. So then I was like, yeah, I have my mind made up. But then I kind of felt like the athletic director was kind of playing with my emotions because they wouldn't let me get my release. They wouldn't let me get in the transfer portal at first. They're like, oh, we got to do the whole hiring the coaching thing. And then you have to wait until you like meet the coaches. And after you meet them, you got to wait 3 days. And like, he was just giving me like this runaround where it's like, bro, I just want to enter the portal so I can do what I have to do for my life. So we had lost and I had to wait basically a month and a half to even enter the portal. And that whole month and a half, people's seasons are ending. A lot of teams who didn't make, the NIT or March Madness, they're done. So they're starting the recruiting process. And I felt like I missed out on a lot of opportunities a whole month and a half with them just playing with me. And like, they brought in like 4 or 5 different coaches. And like, after the first coach that they had hired or that they had brought in for the interview, us as a team, even though I was leaving, I still wanted to have a good coach, for my guys that are still staying there. So I was still a part of the process and stuff. And the first guy that they brought in was a guy who was an alumni from Central Washington. And we all felt that he was like going to be the best candidate because he had his heart in the right place. And we had met him earlier in the year. So we all said, like, this is the guy that we want. We feel like he's going to be the best for the university. And they kind of just ignored us and didn't listen to nothing we said. So then they brought in 4 more other guys. At the end of the process, and mind you, they're bringing in 1 guy a week. So then they bring in the 5 coaches for 5 weeks. So then just for them to hire the first guy that they brought in. So that's why I kind of felt like they were playing with me. And then after they hired him, he brought me in, trying to convince me to stay. And I was like, I do respect, coach. Like, I wanted you to be the coach because I feel like you're the best candidate. And I still want to just go through with what I'm trying to do in my life. So he was like, I respect it, blah, blah, blah. If you want to come back, let me know. So then, so after I met with him, I had to wait another 3 days. So then I finally entered the portal, but I feel like I missed out on so many opportunities. So fast forwarding, April goes by, May goes by, June goes by. Months are passing, and like the only schools that I'm talking to are junior colleges. It's kind of rare for a kid to go Division II to Division I, especially back then. At that time, I felt like I was one of the only dudes who was really doing it. So it was just weird. And all the guys who were calling me were JUCOs. They're like, usually guys go D2, they drop down to JUCO, and then they go to a big Division I. I was like, that's not my plan. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm not getting no calls from D1. So I'm like, man, I might have to. So then that's why I'm considering the JUCOs again. And then I get a call from Cal Baptist. And this is the year that they're transitioning to Division I, but they have a restriction where they can't make the tournament for 4 years. And my goal is obviously to play on March Madness so I can play on the biggest stage and perform and stuff like that. So it was something that was holding me back. And I haven't got a call from USF yet. And Cal Baptist was really the only school that I got a call from that offered me a scholarship. So then I was about to commit to Cal Baptist, and then they called me and like, I don't know, it was something weird. They called me and kind of like tried to pressure me into committing, and it just didn't feel right. So then I was like, I just need the night to think about it, blah, 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 blah. And then by the morning, they had got another guard to commit. That's like the same exact position to me, the same size as me, everything. So then I'm like, they must have did the same thing to him, and he just folded and just committed. So then it just felt bad. So then I was like, all right, I'm gonna just go to JUCO route then. And then I got a call from USF maybe like a week and a half later, and they're like, look, we want to get you on a visit, blah, blah, blah. I come on my visit. My visit's like 38 hours. Like, it's quick in and out. I see the school, I work out, and I get back home, and then a couple of days later I commit. And here we are 4.5 years later.
When you do end up getting that, because at that time it was Kyle Smith, obviously the head coach at Washington State now, but you end up getting there and you commit to him. What was it like to finally know that you got that offer? That was a Division I school. It's going to be paid for, and now you also get to go to a school that you kind of found your home. Like you get it, you officially reached that dream for yourself. What was going through your mind? What was that like?
Man, it was the best feeling ever. Cause like, even though I had to redshirt when I got here and I couldn't play basketball that year, uh, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it gave me a chance to like really sit back and like see the game from a different view. I've been playing basketball since I was 4, every year of my life, so I never really got the perspective of just sitting on the sidelines and I'm older and I'm starting to understand the game a little more and seeing how different things are successful and how some things don't work and just different stuff like that. And it gave me a chance to just sit back and do that, get my body a little bit bigger, stronger, get quicker, faster, all that stuff. So it was definitely one of the best things that ever happened to me. And then when it came time for me to play my redshirt sophomore year, I came off the bench. If they had a 6-man award that year, I would have got it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, we had a great year that year, and then COVID hit. So that's a whole different story, though. But,
So I do want to go into that redshirt year because that is a thing that honestly, I mean, I'm someone that was a huge advocate for the transfer portal. I'm glad it's in place and all that. The one thing that I think we'll see how it affects guys long term now is that for a lot of guys that took that transfer, and obviously there's guys that are grad seat transfers and all that like that, they're fine to play right away. But guys that were typically underclassmen, they transferred and had to sit a year, develop, learn the system. It bettered them a lot that next season, especially going forward. Obviously, a lot of guys aren't doing that anymore, which obviously we'll see. Obviously, we don't have enough data to see if it works or not. But when you talk about yourself, how big was that for you to, just like you said, sit back, learn the system, get to know? Obviously, at that time, it was a different coaching staff a little bit, but you just get to learn the school and all that. How critical was that for you the following year and then your career in general now?
man, it was everything because I'm moving up, going to Division I, stuff like that. The game's way faster. There's less space on the court. Everybody's bigger, stronger, faster. Just different things like that. So just being able to see it from the sidelines, like up close and even in practice, was just everything. And then honestly, if I'm being truly honest, like me coming in as a new guy, the way Kyle Smith coached and his coaching staff coached at the time, they're very loyal. And at the time, they had Frankie Ferrari, who was a 5th-year senior. They had Jamari Bouye, who had already been there. This was his 2nd year, and he was up and coming. And then they already had, 8 to 9 guys that they were playing legitly, like in a rotation. So it wouldn't have been realistic for me to play, and it probably would have wasted a year. So it was literally a perfect situation. And the even crazier part about that, I forgot to mention it to you. The only reason why USF called me was because they last minute got a transfer out. Sule was the guard that was here before, and he was number 0. And, he decided to go separate ways, and he did it like kind of last minute. So then that's why they ended up calling me. So if he would have never left, they would have never called me, and I would have never been here. So it's just crazy how everything like lines up and like every puzzle piece just, plays its part and makes the big picture. But yeah, man, that year was everything. I just gave me time to just sit back and focus on school. I didn't have to worry about, traveling. I didn't have to worry about, games or anything like that. All I was doing was practicing and doing school. I got a chance to explore San Francisco a little bit. I've never been here before other than my visit. Meet some new people, just kind of hang out and just kind of, just chill for a little bit, for a year. But I was working for sure. Like, I was in the gym for practice, after practice at night. When they were on the road, I had individual workouts. I had to lift twice as much as everybody else. So I definitely, paid my dues and did my part. And then when it came time for practice and we were scrimmaging, I made it my job to bust their butt. I had to make sure they was getting better for their games and stuff like that, whether I had to, play as another player for the, for the scout team or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just do whatever I can to help the team, even though I'm not playing. And it made me even hungrier because when it was time to play and it was time to put that jersey on, I was just so much appreciative for just being able to play basketball because I couldn't play for all year. So, man, it all worked out perfectly, honestly.
Following that season, Coach Smith takes the job out there at Washington State, which obviously, I guess I'm kind of asking then, but how did you take that part? Because then you get Coach Golden, who obviously kind of already knew a little bit because he was on the staff, but how did you take that transition? And was that something you were surprised by? Were you okay with it? Like, just walk us through that transition.
I was definitely surprised because I just got done with a coaching change, a year and a half before. Mm-hmm. So I was like, man, this is happening again. And then I was like, he's moving up to Wazoo and stuff. So I get it. He's moving up. He's doing what's best for his family, just like I would do the same, just like anybody would do the same. So I wasn't like mad at him or nothing. I understood. It was just like surprising, like, damn, like I thought he was going to be here until I was done. But like you said, like, when you're assistant coach, you build a certain relationship with the players that the head coach doesn't, Yeah. So, me and Coach Golden's relationship was on that, player coach level. So when he got the head coaching job, it was just all right. It was good. Like, it was good to go. Like, I'm not worried about nothing. It would have been more scary if like they brought in new guys, but with them just moving him up, I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, it's my guy. Like, I was talking to him all year and I was cool with him all year. So it's probably not gonna be nothing different. Not to mention we had, a lot of guys coming back. So it was like, oh, we're gonna be straight. Like, it's gonna be like nothing ever happened. He got in a couple freshmen and stuff like that. So we was ready to go, and I was excited. He had like a sense like, one, he's younger, so he understands us more than what Coach Smith would have. And two, just the way he coaches, he like allows more freedom than Coach Smith did at the time. So we were all excited. We were all like, let's get it. Like we had a big 7-footer named Jimbo. He's more of a back to the basket, traditional big. By the time Coach Golden took the head coaching job, he was shooting threes, just doing stuff like that and just allowing other people to expand their game and not to say Coach Smith put people in a box, but he just had his system and his system worked. He won 20 games for 3 years in a row. So it obviously works, but when it came to Coach Golden, he just allowed people to expand their game and just have freedom and just be themselves and be able to be the best player that they could be. So I like that a lot, for sure.
I did want to ask some about the transfer portal process because, as I said, obviously it's changed now where if you were to do it in the new rules, you could just went out and played that first year. Obviously, like I said, I'm in favor of it happening, but I think under some guys, younger guys can obviously learn the system like we talked about. What is your thoughts on, like, obviously with the new rule in play, do you think it's better for some guys that maybe are younger, whatever it is, to take that redshirt year and get used to the system, play, develop whatever it is? Or do you think it's good that just they can all go in and play right away? Like, will that have any impact on how players develop?
It all depends on the person. There's some dudes who are ready to play right now.
Agree.
There's other guys who think they're ready to play right now, but just need to take a step back and learn a little bit. Mm-hmm. For me, obviously, as much as I would have wanted to play, it's the best thing that I didn't play and redshirted. But I don't know. I think they should definitely have that option, but I think it should be, left up to the player or the coach. Like, they should have that conversation where, like, there's a chance you play and there's a chance you not. Mm-hmm. Like I said, they have that rule where if you don't play a certain amount of minutes, you could just count it as a redshirt year. So I think that's pretty dope. So players can like get in the game, kind of see how it is, and then if they're just not performing, then they can just redshirt that year. But I think a super important thing is just like now, we have the COVID year and we have like, all these excuses and all these waivers that we can get so we can play right away, which is fire, depending on people's situation. But I also think it can be tainted because people are just transferring here and transferring there and transferring there and knowing that they can do that and still play right away. And it's kind of like, I get it may not work at a certain situation. You might need to get out. But if you're transferring to 4 or 5 different schools, maybe it's not the schools that's the problem. Maybe it's you, and maybe you need to just look in the mirror. I know that back then when I was like, coming up and before I got into college, they had the transfer rule where if you transfer, you had to sit out regardless of, unless you're like going back home or whatever your waiver was. But that like changed people's mentalities on transfer because it's like, all right, I can transfer, but do I really want to sit out? And do I really see myself being in this program for an extra year because I have to sit out and stuff like that. So, you take the good with the bad. I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's a great tool, and it's a blessing to be able, if you do need to transfer, being able to play right away, and like with the COVID year, having an extra year, and stuff like that, because I'm using my COVID year right now. So I think it's definitely a blessing. I just think it's more so how you choose to use it, and if you're like abusing it or not.
I want to go into Coach Golden now too, because we're also going to talk about the coaching change a little bit on later on too. But for Coach Golden, you got to experience and develop your entire career to this point at San Francisco under him. You got to play for him. You got to experience him. He's always taking the upgrade now to Florida. He's done an exceptional job out there so far too. But walk us through your guys' relationship. Like, did you guys click right away the very first day you got on campus out there? Did it take time to click, or just how did you guys become close? And what was it like seeing the way you guys' relationship grew from first getting to know him to today?
Oh man, that's my dog, man. We're really close. Like I say, he's young. So like when you have a coach that's young and like, he's into the same stuff that you're in, like he listens to the same music as us. We can go to him and talk to him about girls or whatever, like just having that type of relationship makes it easier to, play for a guy like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we clicked right away. I don't think I clicked with anybody right away because like, my visit was super quick and like I wasn't like recruited like heavily by them and stuff like that. So, but I think for the most part, I can say I'm a pretty likable guy and like I attract people and people are attracted to me. So, just being around a team and just being, cracking jokes or just being myself, kind of just, vibe with people. So I think I kind of just vibe with him and vibe with the other assistants on the team and the rest of the guys on the team. So yeah, and then we just kind of built day by day, and he was a head assistant at the time. So when we would do scout, he would, be in charge of the scout team and stuff like that. So, he would coach me in that sense. But just when you see guys every day and you're with them most of the time, you go into battle with them and stuff like that, you just build a type of relationship. So when it came time for him to, he already felt like I could play that year and he was already telling me, man, I can't wait till you play next year, blah, blah, blah. So then when it came to fruition and he became the head coach, and it was time for me to play, he was, he meant what he said. So when it was go time, it was go time. And he knows that I'm one of those type of people that you can go to war with. So on and off the court. So I think that's where we vibe with the most because he's that type of guy too, where he'll go to bat for you. I think you see that in our games when he's yelling at the refs or yelling at other coaches and things like that, yelling back at the fans, stuff like that. So, I think that's where we vibed the most and where we had the biggest connection.
What would you say is your favorite or your funniest memory that you created with Coach Golden?
It'll have to be last year. I don't know if too many people will know this story, so you're getting exclusive right now. But we had a scrimmage. We had a scrimmage in our gym. I won't give too many details. I don't even know I'm supposed to speak on it, but we had a scrimmage in our gym this past year, and it got spicy. And I was getting in an altercation with a coach because of something he said. He was upset because we were running up the score, and he had said something to me, and I reacted, and he was walking toward me like he was trying to fight me. So then, I turn around and one of the first coaches off the bench is Coach Golden. He's running over there, trying to help me and trying to, protect me and things like that. So, that's definitely one of the most memorable moments with him for sure.
Obviously, he's, like I said, he's taking his job out there to Florida now, and I think he's surprised some people. Everyone knew he was a good coach so far, a young coach, but the way he's transferred, he's pretty much mastered the transfer portal already, putting this team together. But what should fans be expect from him in terms of when he gets to the game time as a coach? Why should Florida fans be excited for what he's going to bring to the program for the foreseeable future?
They should be excited because he like I said, he's like us. You feel me? He's just an older player. That's all he is. He played at the college level. He went to St. Mary's, played pro, and he's young. So, in his young spirit, even when he gets to 40, 50, he's still going to be listening to Lil Wayne, Lil Baby, all those guys. So, things like that where, a lot of the times you have a coach who's like 40, 50, or 60, it's just different. It's different. They grew up in different times. If they walk in the locker room and they hear some Lil Baby, they're going to think he's mumbling and not really know what he says. When TG walks in the, locker room and hears Lil Baby, he's going to be saying the words with him. He's going to be dancing with you guys. And he's going to be throwing stuff, having fun. So I think, with them having their fan base and stuff like that. Just seeing him on the sidelines and just coaching with so much passion, and he's real big on interaction with the fans and stuff like that. I think is going to allow them to have a sort of connection with him, even though he's a new coach. It's going to be his first year. So I think that's probably like the biggest thing that they should look forward to. And they're just going to have fun. They're going to win some games. They got some nice players. They got a nice little team, and they got just a great, community over there and a great little organization / program. So it's definitely going to be fun, and they should definitely look forward to just, winning some games and just having a lot of fun with them.
I'm not sure if you guys could possibly match up in the non-conference schedule, but obviously San Francisco got a good shot at playing the tournament. So do they. Let's say you two were to match up in the tournament. You had to go against Coach Golden in the tournament game. What would that game be like?
It would be lit, and I'll be talking to him the whole game, for sure. Every time I score, I'm looking straight over to him, all that. But, he's the same type of way. He'll talk smack right back to you. And we know at the end of the day, it's all out of love and, just having fun. If we did match up in the tournament, it would definitely be the biggest story. Man, it would be the biggest story of the year for sure. And I think all eyes would be on that game. But yeah, I mean, I'm not picking which team I want to play in the tournament, but if we did play, Florida, that would definitely be something to film for sure.
Well, let's get into your sophomore year then. And as you said, or your redshirt sophomore year, I should say, because you get into that season and you end up only starting 2 games. You take on that 6-man role, though, and you excel in that. You average 10 points a game. You play as a very great role in that 6-man spot. So was that something you're okay with? Did you embrace the 6-man role? Is that something you're okay with? Or how did you take that role in?
Yeah, man. I mean, at the end of the day, of course, everybody wants to start, but I'm a team player for the most part. So at the end of the day, if I'm in the game for 2 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, I'm going to do whatever I can to, one, show the coach why I should start or show why I should play, or just be a star in my role, And, we got the all-time 6-man NBA player that went to our high school. So that wasn't nothing to just reach out to Jamal and be like, hey, man, how do you, accept this role? And how do you, because, it was difficult for me because I had come from, AAU teams and come from, high school where I started most of the time, especially when I needed to start,
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't nothing to call Jamal and just be like, how do you embrace this role? And he's like, just embrace it. You're going to go in, and it's not even about really being a 6-man and coming off the bench, because majority of the time I was coming off the bench and playing starter minutes. I was just coming off the bench, So, and that was Jamal's situation too. A lot of the time he plays starters minutes. So it's not about who starts the game. If they start the game and tip the ball off, and then the first person who catches it calls a timeout and they sub somebody in, you didn't start. But you still going to affect the game for the rest of the game. So that was just my mentality. And honestly, I think it was better that I came off the bench because I'm an energy type of player. I'm coming in regardless if I'm scoring or not. I'm going to come in. I'm going to get steals regardless. I'm going to play defense, and I'm going to be clapping. I'm going to be talking. I'm going to be communicating, doing all that stuff to get my guys amped up. So I think having that little, that little X factor just in your back pocket, and it's like, all right, the starting 5 is not, they need a little juice. Khalil, come on, get in the game. And I get in the game and then turn everything up. And it's all right, we're ready to go now. We're pressing. I'm picking up 94 feet, all that type of stuff. Yeah, I think at the time that was what our team needed the most for me. So I just embraced my role and did the best that I could to help us win. And toward the end of the year, I started those 2 games, and those 2 games we lost, so he just took me out the starting lineup. But for the rest of the year, I was still playing starters minutes. And the games that really mattered the most, man, I was hitting game winners. I had a 10 for 10 game where I had 32 points against BYU. When it came down to Gonzaga in the semifinals, I was hitting big shots and stuff like that. So when they needed me, I showed up. Even though I was coming off the bench. So I wasn't, toward the end of the year, I wasn't really tripping about it. Just embracing my role and do whatever I can to help the team.
You mentioned one aspect about your game that we've got to get into, and that's your energy aspect. You always play with energy. You're not afraid to go trash talk, rather be an opposing team. You've got into it sometimes with different fans in the crowd when you go back and forth with them sometimes. Who would you say, though, has been your favorite fan base? If you go pick one fan base that you love trash talking against, or you've gotten the most with, who is it and why?
BYU, easily. Every single time. They know what's up when I walk into the building. Every single time. I've been talking trash to BYU since I got here. Even when I was redshirt and I was at home watching the game, still talking trash. I just don't like their fans at all. I don't even. It's not even like a hate. It's just like I just don't like them. I don't know why. I make sure to have good games against BYU every year, every single time. I'm always talking. I love their fans so much. I love to hate them. That's what it is. It's a love-hate relationship. It's never, in terms of them, it's never, I can't think of any time I really heard nothing like crazy, like disrespectful, because they're not like, they're Mormon school. So they don't talk too crazy. They don't say nothing too wild, but they just talk. But, I entertain it. I talk fast to people sing courtside. I got videos of me hitting shots and looking back at the crowd, or like, some dude made like a TikTok that kind of went viral, and he had like said something to me when I shot a shot, and then when it went in, I turned around and looked at him and smiled, and then just like different stuff like that. It's always, they're a good program. They're top 3, 4 in the conference every year, so it's always a good game against them. But yeah, I would definitely say BYU easily. I love playing against them.
The other aspect, like you said, is your defense. You've always been someone who's capable of getting steals out there. When did that start for you, and how did you become such a great defender?
My brother, like I said earlier, that was one of the biggest things, and I'll always credit my defense to him for sure. On any interview, anything, I always say that I get my defense from my brother. I'm small, and I'm not like super athletic in terms of like jumping, so I had to do something to stand out. And everybody, a lot of people, when you get to this age and this level, a lot of people could put the ball in the hoop. So you got to do something to stand out in some way. And I do that by playing defense. I'm quick, so I'm already low to the ground because I'm short. I just try to cut people off and frustrate people. A lot of the times, I'll just jump passing lanes, or like people think they can like just dribble around me and I'll just steal it right quick. Like just different stuff like that. And honestly, yeah, like the offense gets the crowd going, but like when they see that you're just hustling the whole time, like that makes them like get drawn into the game even more, and it makes them like keep their eye on you because they know you're going to do something. You're going to get a steal. You're going to, take a charge. You're going to get an offensive foul called on you or something. Like, so I just try to, keep the energy alive, and like offense sell tickets, but defense win games. So especially when you get to March, if you can't guard, everybody's going to see it because you're on national television. 2, if you can't guard, coach can't play you. So it's just like, defense win them games. So you got to just strap it up.
Following that redshirt sophomore season, then COVID comes into play, and you guys had a good overall season your redshirt sophomore year, 22-win season, but COVID sets in, and you're in California, which is one of, if not the most restricted state when it comes to COVID. How did you guys go through as a team? What was your COVID offseason like?
It was difficult. I remember when COVID hit, and then everybody just went straight home because everybody was scared. Nobody knew what was going on. Yeah. They didn't know too much about the virus and how it worked, so everybody just went home. They shut down March Madness. And like the whole time I was at home, we had school on Zoom and stuff like that. And then when they learned more about the virus and got more information and found out, the different things to, stay safe from it, came back that summer. It was just weird. We had to get COVID test every day. We had to like wear a mask wherever we went. Everybody was scared wearing gloves, wiping everything down, and like the social distancing. And like, it was just weird. We had to wear masks while we play basketball, and that's just uncomfortable. You're sweating and stuff in the mask, getting all drenched. We could only work out in singles. So like we'll have one person at one hoop, the other person at the other hoop, and the coach would just kind of stand in the middle and tell us what to do for our workouts. And then after that happened and just being back for like a couple weeks, then we escalated to like 3-on-3, or like groups of 3 for workouts and groups of 4 for workouts. And then we just progressed like that. It was just weird. It's not nothing that anybody in our lifetime has experienced in terms of like global pandemic. So it's like nobody knew what to do and nobody knew how to react. So it was just definitely like something crazy. And like, I don't know, like we just had so much like free time on our hands, and like we had to stay in our rooms and we had to wear masks everywhere we went, and everything was shut down. We couldn't go to no restaurants. We couldn't go to no stores. It was just weird, bro. And like, I don't know. It was crazy. It was a crazy time for sure. It's definitely something I'm gonna tell my kids about whenever they get here. But yeah, man, it was crazy.
Now, you guys as a team didn't do so well that year, 11-14. And obviously, there were some transfers between that year's team and this past year, but still, you guys had the talent to have been better than that record. But what I always say is that obviously, nothing to take away from teams like Baylor or Gonzaga that still were great that year. But for a lot of teams, there wasn't obviously equal balance. Like I said, each state had different restrictions. You guys in California went through pretty much the worst than any other state did. Obviously, New York was pretty bad, other states too, but it was just so much different stuff going on throughout the year. So, how much would you say that impacted you guys as a team going through all that stuff and really not being able to build true chemistry in the summer and the preseason time and even during the season? How did that impact you guys as a team?
Definitely impacted us. That's why I think we were super huge about this past year that we had. We were able to, team bond and connect and build chemistry like over the summer, and it started in the summer. So, and that obviously carried throughout the year and made us so successful. So back then when we couldn't do that, it was just weird. We just showed up on day one and was like, "Oh, what's up, bro?" And it's just like somebody that you just, met through social media or whatever. Couldn't really hang out because it was, not illegal, but like they didn't want us to hang out, obviously, because of COVID. And just stuff like that was just super weird. I remember, and then we went to the Connecticut tournament. We beat Virginia and stuff like that. Like we couldn't leave the hotel at all. Like it was just locked down. Like we left the hotel once as a team. Like the people who was running the tournament escorted us around the outside of the hotel and right back inside. Like we was outside for like 20 minutes to get fresh air. And that only happened once. So like just little things like that. Can't even leave with your teammate to go down the street to get some food, like get some Chick-fil-A or some In-N-Out. You feel me? Just different stuff like that. We couldn't hang out with each other. And then fast forwarding to like during the season, we were kind of getting things rolling, and then we caught COVID. Like we had some positive tests on our team. So then we shut down for a couple of weeks. And then when we came back from that, we had lost like 3 games in a row. So then I think that kind of messed us up. Like, no, nothing against other teams and like they didn't compete. But I think, those games we could have won, but the shutdown kind of messed us up and messed up our rhythm. And then going into the conference tournament, we lost the second round to LMU, which we lost to 3 times that year, which has never happened in this, you feel me? As long as I can remember about USF's history, we've never lost to LMU 3 times in 1 year. So it was just a weird year, So like going through that was necessary because it made me appreciate this passion that we had so much because, we went through all of that and had all that turmoil and all that, negative energy with COVID and like our stuff we went through that year. For us to come back this year and then have the success that we had and just show that it can work if everything's just normal, definitely was a good feeling for sure.
I do want to touch up on one aspect, and that's with you and Jamari, because you two became one of the better dynamic duos in the country. And people realized that a little bit because of what you guys did in that one game. But we'll talk about it in a second. Obviously, you guys got put against Murray State, 2 best mid-majors, which I wish never happened. But you two became and started getting some attention, like I said, of becoming one of the best dynamic duos. You guys have gone all the way back to when you first got out there and you were redshirting and all, though. But when did you two really click, though? Like, when did you guys really start feeling like, we can feed off this? Like, we truly are one of the best backcourts. Like, we really are that dynamic duo now.
No, honestly, we didn't click at all that first year when I got there. We didn't start clicking until I was able to play. For obvious reasons, because when you're on the court with somebody, you click with them more. Yeah. But when I first got here, Jamari won't tell you this, but he didn't really like me when I first got here. Like, he finally told me like later on when we got cool, but when I first got here, he was just like, bro, who's this, bro? Like, because one of his best friends was Sule, and he was the one who left. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of like his replacement. And he's like, man, I don't know about this dude, man. I don't know why, like kind of that energy. We was never like beefing or nothing, but I could just tell he was just kind of like standoffish and like kind of didn't really want to mess with me like that. Mm-hmm. And obviously, as the season goes, we're having practices and team bonding and eating meals together. Like, we got cool. But we didn't really click until the summer when I was able to play. Because then coach started putting us in workout groups. We put in our press. we didn't have a press the year before, but he put in this 2-2-1 press, and me and him was at the front. And at first it was like a press. Then it turned into me and him just hassling whoever gets the ball. So then, us kind of feeding off that and like knowing that when I come in as a sixth man, like, okay, it's go time. It's time to turn up. We're about to press these guys. We're about to score. Hella, we're about to, have a bunch of fun, throw a whole bunch of lobs. Khalil's going to score. I'm going to score. We're going to make threes. I'm going to be dunking, all types of stuff. So once he once we knew what time that was about to be, then we just started clicking, and, we've been brothers ever since.
So what would you say is your favorite memory that you two have created together? Obviously now he's moved on. He should be drafted. If not, he's going to be one heck of an undrafted pickup. But when you look back at your two memories from all the times you guys played together, what's your favorite memory with him?
Man, we got too many. Let me see. I'll say I'll go with that BYU game when I went 10 for 10. Because people forget he had a sneaky, I think he had 23 or something. Like, we were both going crazy. That game was just a movie because the first half BYU was working us. Oh my God, they was making everything. I think they shot like 67 or 70% in the first half, and they was up by 13 or something crazy. And they were just blowing us out the water, bro. And it was bad. We couldn't get a stop. And then I made 3 baskets in the first half. So it was something sneaky. Nobody's worried about it. Then we started the second half, and then he kind of got the team going. And then when I came in, we started pressing. I started picking up full 94. And then I remember I hit 1 3, boom. Then I came down and another 3, boom. Then JB got a block. Then I got it, came down, mid-range, boom. Then it was oh, we're coming back. Then he came down, got another block. He came down, got a 3, got a dunk, got a layup. And then we was just both trained baskets. So it was all right, bro, it's your turn. It was all right, bro, it's your turn. And then it was just working like that for the rest of the game. And I swear we scored the last, me and him split at least 35 of our last 40 points, or 45 or 50 points, something something crazy. We was the only ones who really scored in the second half. And then I didn't even realize that I didn't miss. I was just shooting open shots, and he was finding me. He was getting in the paint, kicking it out, and I was just making my shots. I went perfect that night. I just missed 1 free throw. But, yeah, and then at the end of the game, our announcer, says the other team's stats, and then they say our stats. And we're walking out the gym. Before we even walk out, they're like, bro, he didn't miss. I'm like, yeah, I know, it was crazy. And they're like, no, you really didn't miss. You went 10 for 10. I'm like, relax. And he's like, Jamari Bouye ended with 20-something points and such, whatever. He's like, Khalil Shabazz ended with 32 points and went 10 for 10. This is the greatest performance, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dang, that's crazy. We get downstairs. He's the first one squeezing water in my face. I had my twisties at the time, my long hair, so I didn't want to get my hair wet. So I'm trying to cover my hair. And no, it was just a crazy moment. And then we had a little interview after, and we was just talking to the interview guy and just doing all that stuff. And I remember this one picture that our camera lady took. It was an hour after the game. Nobody was in the building, and we were walking down the hallway just talking about whatever. And she took a picture of us, and we both have it in our phones, and it's just a fire picture, and it's a dope memory. So I would probably say in terms of basketball, that's probably our funnest memory. And then obviously the moment we share when we were announced that we're going to March Madness, we're the first people to hug, because we just, we put in so many hours and worked so hard to get there over the last 3-4 years. So for us to finally make it there, it was just crazy.
As I said, I think he's someone that should very well be drafted this year. The fact that he's not on every mock draft is shocking to me, but there are countless undrafted great stories too. So if he goes undrafted for whatever reason, I think he'll be a huge pickup for a team. Absolutely. But whoever does land him, because I know he will be in the NBA whatever way it is next season, whoever does end up getting him, drafting him, signing him, whatever it is, what are they going to be getting in him?
They're going to be getting an unselfish player. He definitely do whatever it takes to, help the team win. He's a great passer. He's athletic. they're getting a defender, and they're getting a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
You need a bucket. Come on, if you need a bucket, just get a ball to him. And he'll find a way, whether it's him scoring or a teammate, setting up a teammate. They're getting a full package in JB. Obviously, it's a whole nother level. These are the best players in the world. So,
Yeah.
After a year or two, once he gets comfortable and once he, finds his way, he's going to be set. He's going to be one of the dudes that stay in the league for, longevity. He's not going to be an in and out player. And they might not see it at first, but one of these teams is going to see him for what he really brings to the table, and they really appreciate him, and that's where he's going to make his home, and that's where he's going to make his mark. So whatever team gives him the best opportunity and shows him much love, he's going to do whatever he can for that team. And they're getting a full package, so I don't see why they wouldn't want him, and he was doing it all year. So I don't know. We'll see. Like, he's definitely going to land somewhere, but I hope he gets into the best situation for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I want to get into last season because it was a special year, not just for you and obviously the team, but it was a historic team year for that program. And obviously, their best ever, they've won a championship. But in terms of recent era, like, this has been a very successful team. Make it to the tournament, ultimately had to get matched up, like I said earlier, against the two best mid-majors, which I still don't know why that ever happened. But you guys were more than capable of advancing a couple of rounds, I thought. You guys had just a special team, but you guys heading into the season, did you guys expect to have that good of a year, or did that even shock you with how good you guys were this season?
No, absolutely. We definitely knew that we was going to have that good of a year. When our coach, did all his recruiting and got Pat, Gabe, Yayin, and Zane, and we already had Jew. So, yeah, Zane, when he got those four guys, and Vova, we just knew we was going to be able to compete. Like, the year before, we were lacking the inside presence. We didn't have no bigs. So them going out and getting bigs, like the guard situation was already fine. Like, me and JB could, do whatever we did. But he went and got another guard in Gabe, and then brought in four dudes who could really help us out on the inside. So that was huge. And that was a standard we were holding ourselves to in the summer. Like, as soon as we all came together, it was like June 15th or something. We had like a little meeting. Then we all went upstairs and was kind of talking. We all was like, bro, look, we going to a tournament this year. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. We have the pieces. All we got to do is stick together, everybody do their job, and we go to the tournament. Like, win some games. We need a little luck. But at the end of the day, if we give it our all, we're going to make it to the tournament. You feel me? So then we spoke into existence, put in the work that we needed to. The coaches set us up the way that we needed to, and everybody played their part, and then we made it.
When you look at going to the tournament and achieving that ultimate goal for you guys, or at least one of the biggest goals, I should say, for you guys, what did that mean to you? What was it like playing on that stage, finally living out that dream you always had?
Man, it was a movie. One of the movie moments. I went to a March Madness game like my redshirt year here. I was down in San Jose, probably like an hour south. And I took a picture when I was on my way out of the arena, and I was like, next year I'm gonna make it here. And granted, I didn't make it the next year, but 3 years later, for me to actually, make it a reality was just crazy. And just walking into the Pacers arena and like having police escorts wherever we went, and like, seeing the March Madness bracket and seeing our name up there. And as a kid, when you're when you're in elementary, middle school, high school, you fill out brackets. Your teachers let you fill out brackets. You guys probably watch a couple games. But for us to see like our team up there, and to know me personally, like, I'm a huge part of it, and I've been with this program when we wasn't, thinking about making it to a tournament and stuff, or wasn't able to make it to a tournament. Man, it was just big time, bro. And it's just a blessing and just like a dream come true. And then for us to actually like play on the stage, and in the middle of the court it says March Madness, like, it's just crazy, man. Like, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Let's get into this offseason now, because now we're up to date. We're at where you're at pretty much at today. And this has been a pretty wild offseason. You've had a lot of opportunities. Obviously, at first, you decided to declare for the draft, which you either would have been in the mix of that process, you would have been playing pro somewhere. I'm sure you had offers to go G League, overseas, whatever. Like, you're a professional basketball player level. So you have the opportunity, you explore it. Then you obviously decide to come back. You enter the portal, you're back at San Francisco. So walk us through everything that's been going on, because all we people get to see from the outside has been obviously the announcements, the posts, and all that. But I know a lot more has been going on behind the scenes. So what has the past, 2 months or so been looking like in your life?
Man, it's been nonstop. With like entering the draft and then, entering the transfer portal, it was just a moment for me to be able to like really step back and like make a decision for myself. I felt like growing up, coming out of high school and transferring from Central Washington, those 2 times where I could have been recruited, I was never able to really, you know, enjoy and be able to really go through that full process that you would typically go through where coaches are calling you, trying to recruit you, trying to, get you to come on visits and stuff like that. And I was never able to, go through that. So then I think me stepping back and being able to lay all my options out, whether it's pro, whether it's, this school, that school, or staying here, I think that was huge for me. And that allowed me to like really lay out all my options, see the pros and cons of all of them, and then go with my gut and trust myself and be able to pick the right decision. Um, so when it came time to make my decision, I'm sticking with it. I'm happy. I feel like this is the best decision out of all of them. Yeah, and I don't regret anything I've done. I don't regret not coming back to San Francisco. I feel like it's the best decision. It's gonna be the best decision. So yeah, the last 2 months been crazy, nonstop phone calls and trying to schedule stuff and trying to line, visits up or whatever the case may be in terms of pro, just talking to agents, talking to, where they see my future and different opportunities, um, stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a crazy little 2 months. And then also uh like having the type of coaches that I have right now, these coaches right now were my assistant coaches last year. Um, and with them, I'm just super appreciative because they allowed me to really step back and weigh all my options. I don't know a lot of coaches who will let their player enter the portal or worry about going pro while they're still having that ability to come back to the school. But we just stayed in contact and they wanted me to be as honest when it comes to my process. And we just shared that mutual respect. And when it came time for me to make my decision to come back, they were open arms. So I'm just ready to get to it for sure.
The first aspect I want to get into is the NBA process, because that is your ultimate goal, as you've mentioned multiple times. When you enter that, obviously a decision, like I said, I'm sure pro opportunities were out there. If not the NBA, it would have been somewhere else. So what made you say, I want to come back one more year, and why do you feel like this is going to benefit you? Rather not even necessarily going to San Francisco, just the fact of saying, I want one more year to better myself. Are there certain things you want to get better at? Is there a certain reason that you wanted to come back and play one more year in college, or what led to that first decision there?
Just knowing that, when it came time to like talk to different agents and then, what they think of me or like what they have set out for my future and then me having set out for my own future. I just know what it takes to get to that level. Seen it happen with my friends millions of times, seen it happen with, older bros millions of times. So I know what it takes. I know this is my last year having the ability to like test the waters. Mm-hmm. So that was a big reason to me doing it, just kind of, seeing what was out there and seeing what the possibilities were. But yeah, I know for a fact that I need to come back and work on some things. I need to come back, boost my numbers up, not in the sense of like, oh, I need to score 20 points. I mean, averaging 20 would definitely help, but like, percentages, just being super efficient, getting my team more involved. The last 3 years I've played here, I've been the two-man for the most part, the shooting guard. My job is to come in, play defense, give energy, and get buckets. This year, the plan is to have me at the one, have the ball more in my hands so I can really showcase, all my skills, get my team more involved, get my assist up, and just try to be more efficient and be more of a leader because that's what I'm gonna be at the next level. So just doing all those things. I definitely have a sour taste left in my mouth because I didn't perform in March the way I know I could have, especially to help us win that game. I had a bad shooting night and I just could have played way better. I tried my hardest, but I could have played way better. So that definitely left a sour taste in my mouth. So yeah, man, just doing all those things and just becoming a better player. Pro. Not to say that pro is always going to be there because anything could happen, knock on wood. But I just felt like I just gotta come back and just thug it out one more year and just get way better. So then when it is time to go pro, there's no doubt, regardless if it's my last year or not. There's no doubt. Guys are more willing to give me an opportunity because they know I've played 4 years in college. And like I am short, I am less athletic than most of the guys who would be going to the draft or whatever. But besides that, just do whatever I can to spark their interest and just make them know that I'm a player that they would want to have on their team, stuff like that. So that's my plan for next year. And obviously I have to get back to March, have to win some games, have to, perform the way I need to perform to do all that. So that's my plan for next year.
In terms of the transfer portal, then you went in there and automatically you were one of the top players in there. You're heavily pursued. I know that we talked about that before we started the interview. Was there any schools that made a legitimate pitch to you where you actually were heavily considering them, that actually made something where it's competitive with San Francisco? Or pretty much all along, would you say that San Francisco had the good lead and there was pretty much not much question other than just trying to see and just kind of embrace the kind of recruiting process?
Yeah, I was definitely considering some schools. Like I said, there was about 25 to 30 schools that were, contacting me from mid majors to Power Fives. I was considering a couple Power Fives and some Pac-12 schools. I had great conversations with their coaches, but at the end of the day, it's just like with this whole transfer portal, it's so different nowadays, and like it's just speed dating. That's all it really is. Like when you're coming out of high school, the coaches have time to see you play in the summer and then see you play during the year and then really build a relationship with you and your family. They might come and watch you. They might, have you come and visit, and you got time. Like now you got a, few weeks. Everybody's trying to get their roster together so they can know what their season's gonna look like. So it's just speed dating for the most part. The coaches tell you whatever you want to hear. They got to do what they got to do to get you to go there. And not to say that I see through the BS, but I just know that at the end of the day, like it may not be coming from the best place. They're more so just trying to fill the roster so they can know what they're doing rather than, oh, like you're somebody we need and like, we care about you and like we're gonna treat you like family once you get here, rather than once you get here, you show us that you can help us win. And then once you show us that you can help us win, then we'll treat you like family, more so like that. And no knock on those coaches, we had great conversations. They were upfront with me and I was upfront with them, and things like that. And there's mutual respect, but I just know at the end of the day, I pretty much know how the game goes. I've been, around for a minute. So yeah, at the end of the day, I just feel like it was best to just, I know where home is. I know with these coaches is family first, regardless of how I perform, knock on wood, anything could happen tomorrow. I know at the end of the day, these guys are still gonna care about me, whether I'm scoring 20 or if I'm not playing at all, and that means a lot to me. The relationships we build here is super strong, even with the people in the community and the fans that come to the game. I'll walk around in my neighborhood and see random fans and they're like, "Oh, Dons," or like, "Hey, Khalil, how's it going?" Blah, blah, blah. Just checking on me, making sure I'm good. So like that stuff means the most to me. Not to mention they scream, when they're at the games and stuff, showing their support. So yeah, just little stuff like that, like more so things that are, bigger than basketball. Those things mean the most to me. So, and I didn't really think I could get that anywhere else, especially being a fifth-year transfer, just coming into a situation. So, yeah, with all of that put in a pot, I feel like this was the best meal that I could make with that pot. So I decided to stay here.
Let's say it was no opportunity. You couldn't go back to San Francisco for whatever reason. What school do you think you would be playing at next year?
Oh, that's tough. So before I committed back here, I had it boiled down to 4 schools. But out of those 4 schools, man, I don't even want to say. It's irrelevant. I'm here, so that's most important. But I'm gonna keep that to myself, or I'll tell you off camera. But I'm gonna keep it to myself.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, I do want to get into this upcoming year because it is a much different role for yourself now, as you said. I mean, you still have been in one of the main guy, one of the 2 duo with Jamari, but now it's your team now. You're the lead guard. Obviously, there's a lot of good pieces going to rise up. It's not just a one-man thing, but the spotlight's on you now. This is your team. You're the leader of this team. You're the guy that's going to potentially set records this upcoming year. What do you want to get out of this year? Like, what is the goals that you have set that you want to achieve and accomplish, and like what you want to get done by the end of the season?
Man, March Madness is definitely at the top of that list, and not only March Madness, but to go and win a couple games. And just like I would say, like I want to say, like I have like certain numbers that I want to average or whatever, but like that's not even the case. I just want to be the best player that I can be, and I know what that is. You feel me? I don't have like a specific answer for it, but I know that at the end of this year, I'm gonna be able to say like I did everything I could possibly do. If I were to pick like a certain number that I would want to like, reach, I just want to be a 40, 50, 90 player, to just show, or 50, 40, 90 player. Because then if you're doing that, you're efficient, So, and that's one of my biggest things is being efficient. That's what the league wants to see. They want to see a player who's not wasting shots, or not being effective. So be a 50, 40, 90 player, and then win a couple of games of March Madness. And, I'm not even really worried about like the records here. That'll come, whatever. But I just want to be legendary, and I just want to be remembered, here for forever. Whether that's, breaking records or getting my jersey retired or not getting any of that, but just knowing when I come on campus, people just know me by my face, or like people still talk about me when I'm long gone. That's always been my whole thing, like my whole life. That's why every time I try to have a conversation with somebody, I try to say something that they'll remember, so they can, even if they don't remember my name, they can say, "Oh, that's that guy that I talked to about such and such." At the end of the day, it's about leaving your legacy. We can't live forever, but your legacy can live forever. So every day I just try to, just work toward that. So far, I would like to say I might have started off pretty good here at San Francisco, trying to work toward that goal. But I think next year definitely solidify it. And hopefully, get my jersey retired one day and be able to give back to this community the same way they gave to me when I first got here. So that's what it's all about. Just, creating that cycle that we have back in Seattle, but do it here, with the athletics, or with just the people in general. Just, the people show me love, unlimited love here. So I want to do the same thing, whether I'm here or not. So those are my goals.
Well, this is a new look team in terms of the coaching spot as well. Now, obviously, we've talked about Coach Golden's moving on, and you brought in this new coaching staff. Obviously, you had the familiarity with the staff that is promoted within again, but why should fans be excited about Coach Gerlofson? Like, what's so special about him, and why should people be excited for not just what he's going to do this upcoming year with you, but what he's going to do for as long as he is at San Francisco?
What most people may not really know about Coach CG is a lot of the times last year, he was doing a lot of the coaching. All of our offense that we did, that was him. A lot of the times where, there'd be a situation where Coach TG didn't really he wasn't really sure about something, or like didn't really know. Like he would lean on CG. He's an older coach and he understands. And even though he is older, he can still relate to us like on the level that Coach Golden would. He'll joke with us. He'll talk about whatever. He listened to, the same music, stuff like that, watch the same TV shows. So he can definitely connect with people on that type of level. I think the biggest thing about Coach CG is he's just a relationship type of dude. And relationships last forever, regardless of, obviously he has to win a couple games for people to like him, obviously. But at the end of the day, like he's super like he really, really cares about the relationships he has. Like he'll go speak with the janitor and have a conversation with the janitor about whatever, just to show that he cares, and shows that, just because like you may not be a coach here, you may not be like the AD here, like, you have a life that matters, and I care about that, that type of stuff. So even if it's a random donor or a random alumni that ain't been here in 30, 40, 50 years, if they come on campus and say what's up to coach, he'll stop and have a full-fledged conversation about life, about whatever. So I think him being a relationship type of dude is going to help him being a coach with our players, and to help him be, a coach favorite when it comes to the fans and when it comes to the games.
Well, I got a couple more last questions to wrap up with you. They're kind of quick ones, but the first one is, in your Instagram bio, you have friend there. Got to take us to the meaning behind that a little bit. Like, what's the meaning behind that, and why do you have that there in your Instagram bio?
So I got a friend right here on my neck. I don't know if you can see it. It's in red, but so I grew up in a Muslim household, and my name is Arabic. So Khalil means friend in Arabic. So that's where it comes from. And in terms of friend, like, I don't know, I'm a goofy guy. I like to be cool with everybody. I want everybody to be friends with everybody, So I'd rather, have a tough conversation just so we can squash the beef, so we can be cool, because at the end of the day, environment and the circumstances that I come from in my neighborhood, like your best friend could be gone the next day type of deal. So at the end of the day, like if we were best friends and then we had a falling out because of something, like there got to be a way that we can, you know, figure it out, because, you know, if you're gone tomorrow, if you pass away tomorrow, like I'm gonna be sad about it and that's gonna affect me. So I'd rather worry about how we can fix the situation now while you're alive. So at the end of the day, you know, I just try to, you know, be friends with everybody and just be cool, you know, have fun, enjoy life and enjoy the relationships, because anybody can be gone any day. So, you know, it's just friend, you know.
The other thing people know about you now is that you're number 0. You've been rocking that now throughout your Don's career. Is there any meaning behind that? Is that your favorite number, or why are you number 0?
So initially, like going back to my brother, he wore 0 before me. I didn't start wearing 0 till my 7th grade year when I played for AAU. So then that's when I kind of discovered it, but he had been wearing it before me. And then when we got to Beach, he was number 0, but we were there at the same time. So I had to wear number 15 until he left. But when I played JV, I was number 0. So yeah, so I wore it because of him, honestly, to start off. But then after I just, you know, people kind of asked me why you were 0, and I didn't want it to just be because my brother. I think Dame Lillard said this one time or something like that, or I heard it somewhere, but he was like, I wear 0 because it's no excuses or something. Oh no, he wears 0 because it's the letter O, because he's from Oakland. But I wear it because of my brother and because it's just no excuses. Like at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do. Like if you want to make it, you can't have no excuses. You can't say, oh, well, in my case, oh, well, nobody was recruiting me out of high school. Well, make a way for people to recruit you. And then leaving D2, oh, no Division I school wants, like you can't have no excuses. You can't. Excuses build failure. So at the end of the day, do what you got to do to be successful. And that's just get up and do your job to the best of your ability. At the end of the day, if you gave it your all, you can't be mad at the result because you did everything you could possibly do. So just live with no excuses. So that's why I wear 0.
Absolutely, man. My final question for you is, you touched upon the legacy aspect a little bit there a couple minutes ago, but when you leave your Don's career this upcoming season, so in a year from now, what is the one thing you want to remember for? If you could pick one thing that your legacy kind of remembered for, what do you want that to be for?
It's a great question. If I could, one thing I would just say, man, he cared. That's how I would say it, because he cared about, you know, this university. He cared about this basketball team. He cared about us as people. He cared about us as fans, us as donors. He just cared. Like he just showed that in this game. Like he played with passion every game, every minute, every second, whether it was going his way or not. Like, you know, he cared when it came to school, and he cared when it came to the relationships he was building. Random people he didn't even know, or, you know, he'll see somebody who's, you know, going through a tough time, you know, they might be homeless. He cared about them, even though they didn't know him. He'll give them, you know, a pair of shoes, or give them some clothes that he may not wear no more. You know, just stuff like that. Like at the end of the day, like we're all humans and we're all here on this earth trying to, you know, figure this life stuff out. So at the end of the day, as long as you're, you know, treat other people how you want to be treated and just be nice and show that you care about people, then they can't say that you're a bad guy. So at the end of the, you know, this journey, when it comes to USF, I just want to be able to say that, you know, recognize that I cared about people and cared about everything that comes with, you know, the things that are in my life.
Well, Khalil, congratulations, man, on making the decision. I'm excited to see what God's got next for you, man, this upcoming season, obviously moving forward, and appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
For sure. Appreciate you, bro.
Of course. You're always welcome on, man. God bless.
Yes, sir. You too, bro.